Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. We are approaching the end of a season. It's the final V8SCOPS race weekend of 2023, and we are at Road America, starting with the supports action on Friday and Saturday nights. Tonight we have the Flat 4s and the Flat 6s ready to take to this classic US racetrack. Big thanks to Wilson's Industrial Sales and OKMS Media and Graphics for their support of V8SCOPS supports throughout this year. To bring it to you live here on YouTube, Facebook, Kick and Twitch is myself, Reese Gardner, and Dan Yeaman is alongside me in the comms box with Jay Kennedy pressing all the buttons behind the scenes in the producer's chair. Dan, Road America is a simply magnificent track. It's the traditional closing round of the V8SCOPS season. What a place to do it.
It is. But being told it's not Road America can confirm. That there, as we zoom on down into the states of Wisconsin, just up north of cities like Chicago and Milwaukee, towards Park Lake, and the surrounds here at Road America, fantastic venue, and the fact that it plays our home here of our final round of the whole of V8SCOPS this weekend for our action to bring things to a close and then get let drivers take a break before they get ready for season 2024. And yeah, a great place with fantastic history here in America, and therefore, of course, here with us on the sim as well.
Yeah, Road America is one of the very few racetracks around the world that hasn't had its main layout changed at all since it opened. Since 1955, this has been the route that drivers take. Of course, the track has been widened a little bit a couple of times, and we've had various upgrades to infrastructure around the track, including an alternative chicane at the kink up the top of the screen. But other than that, they are running the exact same route that sports cars and even NASCAR has run for the last 70 years just about. And looking forward to seeing if there is more history being made in the virtual world this weekend. One thing that we will point out is that there's long straights here on this circuit, and that means, Stan, that the slipstream is vital if you want to be successful here.
Without a doubt, yeah. Long front straight, long run from turn 3 down to turn 5. The run from the carousel round to Canada corner. And other shorter straights in the middle of that there as well, which could also play a part. First up tonight will be our flat fours category, and they're in the middle of qualifying right now. So a quick chance to look at the championship standings at this stage. It is a race between Cameron Dance and Robert Henry to see who tonight will take that final title. Well, take the final round and therefore take the title for the year in these Toyota GR86s. Here, race margin there being 43 points in the favour of Cam Dance. So he should be able to hang on to this one so long as he makes sure to record classified finishes in the races here tonight.
Yeah, and that shouldn't be too difficult considering the field is very small for this round, this final round of the flat fours. And there's 2 races coming up for the drivers here, each 50 minutes each. 2 tyres is the minimum to take in the compulsory pit stop, which opens at the end of lap 2, the window, and then 2 laps from the end, or something to the tune of about 5 minutes from the close of the clock. It hasn't all been smooth sailing for the drivers in this session. This is Daniel Stevens having a bit of a whoopsie at the exit of turn 1, and that shows you how heavy the crashes can get here. That car was super damaged, and he was unable to bring that thing back to the pits under his own power, so he does not have a qualifying time on the board. It's going to stay that way for the rest of the session. Ben Christensen, one of 2 drivers to have set times at the moment. Robert Henry currently on provisional pole position and could improve on this lap. Let's see if he can do it. It's 2.5 minutes, the lap time in these cars. He sets a 2:32.7 to consolidate his pole position time. What about Cam Dance? 2:32.5. Nicely done from Cam Dance. That is provisional pole for him. And that is exactly the point where he needs it to consolidate his championship lead going into this last round.
Yep, that is a perfect trick. It will be, by the looks of things, a drag race between the 2 of them for this one. And apparently that's all she wrote for Cam Dance. And he's decided to take a chill pill whilst he doesn't even need to really bother looking at the road, apparently. Is his trick. In fact, I know what he was doing. He's responding to me because that's what he was doing. That part, either the 86 here tonight, as well as maybe his flat 6 later on doing, it's not meant to be blue anymore. That was sort of a temporary thing, but that will hopefully be fixed for him on the back end. But Cam, one of our 4 drivers on Zoom here tonight. Dan Stevens, there, top right of the wall here on screen at the moment. Robert Henry, our fellow other Kiwi Championship protagonist there, bottom left of your screen, and Ben Christensen in his ANZ Motorsports number 9 there in the bottom right of the screen. We've seen these drivers all on Zoom at various points this year. Reese, we'll look forward to seeing how they go at finishing things off here tonight.
Indeed, only 30 seconds remaining in the session, and it looks like pretty much everyone is done with their laps. No one is at a point where they're going to be able to finish the lap they're on, because we are running a heat format, and that means there's a hard cut to the end of qualifying. If you wanted to get one more lap in, you should have crossed the line with about 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the session. So it's just track time now for these guys, getting used to the cars one last time before they get into the first of our 2 races here tonight. Clock hits 0 and away we go for the grid for the first race of the Flat 4s. It will be headed up by Cameron Dance, championship leader, with Robert Henry alongside him. Orbit Motorsports versus KSR, but it's an all-Kiwi front row. Ben Christensen, the last driver to set a qualifying time, starts in 3rd alongside Dan Stevens in the Middle Finger Racing number 3. And then we have Henry King in the number 52, taking up 5th spot, the last car to take part here. Aaron Gilbert standing by in the safety car. Troy Allen did join the server, but unfortunately disconnected some time ago. Hopefully we'll be able to see him in the second race. But regardless, it's going to be quite the interesting running here. A very small field, but I think with how strong the slipstream is in these cars and just how long the straights are, we should be able to stay in a nice pack if they can keep it smooth.
Yeah, I mean, that is the main thing. But yes, it's a small field tonight, but by all intents and purposes, we've seen good racing from these drivers, even when things are getting... Yeah, so basically, yeah, the fact is that we should be looking for a good fight between Cam Dance and Robert Henry to wrap things up here tonight. And it will be a question of, can Ben Christensen, Dan Stevens, and Henry King all hang with, or are we going to see 2 packs sort of form tonight as we are just waiting on a couple of cars to join the grid, namely Cameron Dance and Ben Christensen. There's Dance on the grid now, so almost there, and then we'll have ourselves just the one driver left before we'll get this one racing.
Absolutely. All 5 drivers now on the grid, ready to take the start, and should be a simple 2-minute grid time for this, which means we should be getting things going in just a few seconds' time. Standing start for these cars, because they are a bit of a challenge to get off the line properly. So with such a long run to turn 1, and we are away. A little bit of a bogged down start from Ben Christensen. He immediately loses out to Stevens at the start, but for the moment looks like Cameron Dance and Robert Henry getting a nice stable start on. They immediately form into pretty much one line as they come down to the first turn, braking just after the last cone here and trying not to take too much of the curb lest you destabilize your machine. For the time being, stable up the front, but it will be on for 4th spot. Henry King versus Ben Christensen, both part of the ANZ Motorsports Henry James Racing stable, and pressuring each other hard there at the back of this field.
Keeping together and no one making any big mistakes to get things to see. So line up to speed. Henry particularly get the advantage of the slipstream in behind Cam Dance, but not close enough to make a run here into turn 5. So right up underneath that and load up the front tyres and the brakes. Of course, the suspension going for the most part means that we'll see plenty of body roll inside rear tyres and off the ground through certain corners here tonight. And it also means, the drivers importantly, they don't basically pitch the car on the brakes all through the corners there. So do that, that's a one way to lose control of these guys pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're quite snappy, these GR86s. They are obviously a light road-based sports car, and they've got pretty thin tyres too, plus reasonably soft suspension. So you have to be careful of the weight transfer and how you hit the curbs and bumps around here. Robert Henry chasing down Cam Dance here, and well, at the moment, he's probably thinking, okay, 2nd place in the championship is secured. The only chance I'm going to have to take the title from here is if Cam Dance doesn't finish both races here tonight. So he's going to try and race him as hard as he can, but race fairly too. Pulls out of making a move there. Not quite the opportunity that we were behind. It looks like Dan Stevens has put on a big defense from Ben Christensen. This is looking really good here. Battle for 3rd and back.
Yeah, it is good to see that we are going to have a couple of battles to watch over the even though it won't be one giant battle by the looks of things, as Christensen and Stevens there. Machine. Inside of our cameras there, as Henry's got a look at the toe down the dance. He'll slip up inside here towards turn number 1. They're at the line, almost had the lead, but technically was in the hands of Cam Nance. He'll roll out and tuck in, and that'll just allow Dan Stevens to close up whilst he's going front to what needs to hit and having to sort themselves out through the corner. So that breakaway that I thought we might see hasn't quite happened just yet anymore. And Danton and Henry exchange positions on the top, which we will hopefully see will allow someone like Dan Stevens to just get that little bit closer and now probably join the queue down the straights at least.
Well, it's a Kiwi podium lockout at the moment, and there goes Stevens pulling out of the slipstream. He wants to go for it here on Dance and Henry. Dance flicks to the driver's right side, almost makes it 3 wide, but pulls out of getting alongside Robert Henry, and there goes Stevens up the inside at what is technically turn 5 if you consider the Marshall's post naming system for US corner numbers, and into the lead of the race for how long though. Look at this, all the side-by-side running is bringing Ben Christensen right into it too, and this is something that we've seen all year from the flat fours. It's good to race side-by-side for a bit, but you end up losing out quite a bit with drivers chasing and on the racing line. There goes Robert Henry back into the lead.
Let's see here. He'd like to be, but I mean, yeah, the thing is with the points scheme, you need to lose 40 points over the course. In fact, I'd say if he it's a 9-point difference finishing versus finishing first. So the only way this goes horribly wrong for Cam Dance is he retires from one of these races. So he just needs to finish. It doesn't matter where. So the fact he's here in P3 now, past Dan Stevens, knowing him, he'll be looking to chase now. Either way, we're going to go from the front straight away again. So expect this to be a push. Push this off a bit to clean air.
Yeah, it's been a good lap for Ben Christensen. Didn't get the best of starts, but has been steadily working his way up here, and he could be in contention for a podium if he plays his cards right. Dance pulls out of the slipstream, uses the momentum, and I would say this is going to be similar to when Henry took the lead. Christensen will just give it to Dance, but he has to consider Dan Stevens just behind him too. Oh, easy does it, tiny bit of contact between them, but Stevens manages to not make it a big incident, so things looking stable for the time being. And well, right now Robert Henry has enough of a lead that he doesn't have to worry about the slipstream for now. That to me says that Dance, Christensen, Stevens and King, they need to start working together to bring this back in.
So we'll see now if these drivers are going to have cooperation. Driving into the pits, I'm not surprised by that. You do not want to be out when it comes to either race tonight. And looks like it's going to really be a game of the moment Robert Henry pulls in, either they all follow him in, they all stay out together. You don't want to split the field slightly, split the field fully, as it were. In a sense of and also colder tyres would probably make the outlap a little more interesting for him too.
Yeah, that's one of the many things that you need to consider when thinking about a compulsory pit stop in a field this small. Is that if you're off cycle, you're going to end up losing a ton of time to the drivers around you. And we know that these cars are pretty skittish, especially at the start of a race. They tend to get a little bit more stable as the tyres come up to temperature. But man, when you're only a few laps in, still a little bit slidey as they come into Canada corner for the third time now. This has been a pretty stable lap. There was that attempt by Stevens to get by Christensen, but he's still going to have to wait a bit here. Christensen taking a bit of a wider, straighter line through the penultimate turn. And now it's going to be down to how quickly Daniel Stevens can get on the power and extend the line out here. You see that Christensen immediately going for the pits, and he is getting followed in now by Stevens and King. So this has created an interesting split in this field. Dance and Henry up the front. They're going to stay as they are, but these three all working together. It's going to be a battle of the pit crews to see who can get it done the quickest.
Yeah, we'll see what the variation is. And also, yeah, critically now, can those three having pitted together maybe build a bit more speed? Cameron Dance on the edge of the limits. He went past the track limits there, lost a couple of tenths for his troubles through turn one as a result, which is not ideal in any sense of the word. So he'll have to try and catch back up a little bit to Robert Henry there and get the benefits down the straightaway. Because the gap is sitting at around more 1.4 seconds nearly. Yeah, he's just getting a tiniest whisper of drive as Stevens is going to beat Christensen off of the pit lane. They all come out together though, so critically they'll be able to group up and push on together. And they're going to have to cooperate with each other as King though going to eye off the inside of Christensen. And that's going to hold up the ANZ machines and allow Dan Stevens a bit of breathing room, which is not really what these three do. They need to work together and just push. No fighting, just push until the pit stop happens, unless Christensen is really struggling. Looks like that is the case. Not comfortable with the cold tyres yet here on this outlap.
Yeah, so that basically means that Dan Stevens has gained 1.5 seconds on these two in the space of just a couple of corners. Seems that he's a bit busy checking his phone, as Ben Christensen, to worry too much about what's going on out there. But for the time being, he should slot in behind King and hopefully be able to... Oh, goodness, King's having issues too. Remember, these drivers have changed 2 of their tyres at least, and I would assume rears, and they're going to be mighty cold.
Yeah, they will. And many cars like it on the service where you don't want to be on cold tyres if you can avoid it. So going long at this stage, probably helpful. But at the same time, you might want to get that pit stop done early and just get your tyres changed over so you can then warm them up towards the end of the race. So these two here will probably come in together because Dance at about a second back can probably afford to. He'll be able to push up towards Henry on pit entry if he thinks Robert's a little conservative, getting it up to the pit speed limiter line, but neither driver going to pull the trigger yet. They'll both stay out for another lap, it seems, and press on here as we're already past 10 minutes done in this race as they make their way across the start-finish line. Our top two. 232.4 for both of them. You have to go to the second decimal place to find a difference on that lap.
Yeah, they're nice and close at the front here, but in the midfield, Dan Stevens unfortunately catching the gravel on the exit of Canada Corner. That's the amount of time that it's cost them, about 42 to 43 seconds at the very end of the lap. Right then. So with a 2.5 minute lap time plus a couple of seconds and a 25-minute time limit, that means we are expecting 10 laps in each race here tonight. And at the end of this one, they will reach that halfway point. King on the back of Stevens, coming up the start-finish straight. And he's giving him a solid push here. This is exactly what they should have been doing right from the outset, and helping themselves gain a bit of time. Henry and Dance, though their lap times are well matched, they're still about, I'd estimate, 6 or 7 car lengths apart. That's not quite enough to be able to draft together like these guys are doing.
Yeah, and looking at it again, coming down into turn number 8 on the circuit, I never remember exactly which ones have all the corner names, but yeah, the gap coming has gone back up to about 1.4 seconds. So Cam's not really going as well as I thought he might in the corners and the second half of the lap versus what he needs to be doing in he's getting the slipstream down the front straightaway through the opening, or the final sector and the opening sector where he's benefiting. We'll have to see here if Dan Stevens' pace is good enough though to potentially, make something of it for these two guys here. On this lap alone, by the looks of things, close, not quite, I don't think. They're going to have to Yeah, looking at it now, they actually lost half a second on this lap.
Oh, and they all go off track.
Oh, my word.
Oh.
Christensen.
Okay. And then there were 4. Oh, dear. So that looked very messy between those 3. Coming out of the hurry downs into the very tight braking zone and left-hander. Just seems to me like Stevens and King understeered. Ben Christensen just catching the gravel on the exit of the curb and slipping around a little bit. So that's given a little bit of an extra advantage to Robert Henry and Cam Dance, who have yet to make any big errors like that, apart from Dance's little off-track excursion at turn 1 a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, curious to see how these guys go. We're going to go to a replay of that moment there for Ben Christensen. So all coming into turn 8. And we'll see here. Stevens, yeah, a little slow through the corner, checks up and runs a tiny bit wide. Henry King fully in the guys. And Ben Christensen, unfortunately, out of all of them, kept 3 wheels on the road race. The right rear, though, in the gravel was more it took to send that car around in a wee bit of a circle.
I suppose you could make the argument that if you're going to go off track, you might as well commit and go for all 4 wheels off the road. Henry King on board in the slipstream of Dan Stevens. He doesn't go for the move at turn 1. And, you know, it's not just about bump drafting. You don't have to make contact with the car in front to give them a push. There are aero effects simulated here, which means there's a little bit of a higher pressure air bubble around the front of the car, and you can use that to push the car in front of you as well. So 234.5 for Stevens and 234.6 for King. Remember, they both made a little bit of a mistake on that run there. Meanwhile, Cameron Dance and Robert Henry, they're still running mid-232s.
I have to see if maybe on this lap there's a bit of improvement. They lost a couple of seconds with their mistakes at turn 8, and on that occasion there, Henry King almost deciding to take the spot off Stevens, but decides better of it. And once they get up over the crest through turn 6 on this occasion, and just like that, another 5 minutes have nearly gone past here in this race. So pit stops probably only got another 3 odd laps for our leading duo to take them. But you know, the rate, clock ticks up again another half. Actually, nearly another full second since this lap started. Cam Dance now getting right proper in the slipstream of Robert Henry as we approach the end of this 6th lap of the race. We'll go side by side, give you the pair of battles that are currently happening on both halves of the circuit as Henry's going to split the deal.
Oh, okay. Cameron Dance stays out. Interesting. So is this going to result in any kind of benefit for either driver splitting at the strategy?
Well, this is the thing. I would think going longer on warm top, this will give maybe a lap, a benefit here, as with the slipstream on that lap, Cameron Dance will punch in a 2:31.6. So to put that in perspective, in case you've forgotten the qualifying times, that's a good 9/10 quicker than what Cam Dance did in qualifying earlier on, not 15 minutes ago and change. As in the meantime, Stevens and King just coming up to the final corner. Pardon me now, whilst Cam's already halfway down the second straightaway towards turn 5. So we'll see here. Robert Henry should get out ahead. Indeed, he's coming out of the pit lane now. It's a very slow crawl for the GR86, but look at that there. In fact, the margin is comprehensively in his favour, despite having cold tyres and no speed. Everything has just left those two back there. Their speed is relatively low, given the nature of the beast in these Toyota GR86s.
So comparing pit stop times, Robert Henry, about 15.2 seconds. Stevens, King and Christensen all did their pit stops in under 15 seconds. So I would expect that Dance might be able to beat Robert Henry by a tenth or so in the box. We'll have to wait and see. But in spite of all of that, Robert Henry has the second quickest lane transit time. The quickest is Dan Stevens, 46.7 seconds. Robert Henry only a tenth slower than that through the entire lane.
Yeah, well, it shows if you know the pit lane and you know the cars and just how much of the limits you can push. Every little bit can be valuable and certainly is valuable here as we'll go on board with Henry King for a moment in the number 2 ANZ Motorsport, or guess more accurately, Team Jinx Shifter's entry here is gets up on the curb nicely through turn 7. The kink before we head down through the hurry downs to turn 8. And once again, we'll stay in behind Dan Stevens, but Stevens is looking at a couple of mistakes here and there, small stuff there like missing an apex, just going to hurt his run out of these corners, Reese, and mean that Henry, well, he's tucked up behind already. He could probably line up a run on a longer straightaway, but decides to, well, at the very least, he's not going to be able to make a run just yet, and that might hurt him on lap time. As at the front of the field, Cam Dance will respond to Robert Henry's pit stop by coming in now at the end of lap 7.
Yeah, up the hill, over the crest, and into the pits he goes, maintaining 73 k's an hour as he makes his way to his pit box at the end of the lane. So Robert Henry at the moment coming out of Canada corner to the last turn now. Dance will potentially be aware of the numbers. 46.8 seconds through the lane, 15.2 seconds in the box. Those are the numbers that Robert Henry hit, and he is pushing hard out of the final corner to try and keep this lead here. Will the later pit stop for Dance work in his favour? Tradition says no, and Dance actually stopped a sizable moment longer than Robert Henry. Has he changed all 4 tyres?
Yeah, we feel like based on the numbers, I think he has, because no one else is anywhere close to his stationary pit time, and he's going to be almost in the clutch. In fact, he will be in the clutches by the time he's up to speed of these two here, Dan Stevens and Henry King. And look, it's not that bad for Cam. It's just that seems to be a bit of a strategic misstep there in getting the pit stop queued up and ready. And he's actually got 2 seconds back to Stevens, so he might just be able to keep that margin once he's up to speed in the corners. Let's watch here how King does this time. Will he continue to try and push Stevens along? He will indeed, and go for the bump there, which will nudge the number 3 along that little bit quicker. And then you can see now, even with basically nowhere to go, King does still find a bit of straight line benefit, which can then be used to push Stevens along a little more. Although, once again, I have to say, comparing their lines through the apexes, Reese, Dan Stevens struggling, comparatively speaking, to get the apex just right, and he ends up a little bit wide and lose that little bit of speed and time through the corner apex.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're going to be following closely with someone, working together with the slipstream, you got to make sure that you hit your marks in the turns. You might gain some straight line speed, but it can all come to naught if you miss an apex or a turn-in point or brake just a tiny bit too late. You also got to consider you'll have to brake earlier for the turns as well with the extra speed that the slipstream gives you.
Yeah, and the fact is, yeah, that's the big one, of course, to note with cars like this is, yeah, the fact that you get the slipstream in these ones, it's only worth a couple of extra kilometres an hour. Actually, no, it can be worth a lot more, as you said, because, yeah, another car behind giving a push, it's actually a fair comparative boost. It just means, yeah, you've got to adjust the way you drive, pull back your braking markers, pull back your corner entry marks, and be able to get them right, which, yeah, from what we're seeing from onboard Henry King, it didn't look like Dan Stevens had that quite right, unfortunately. Well, Cam Dance has pulled a couple more tenths on this lap despite being on cold tyres, so I think he is safe despite being on his own, and Robert Henry will definitely be safe as they're coming up the hill with 2 laps to go here at the start of this one as the clock ticks under 4 minutes. So it will mean we have ourselves a 10-lap race to look forward to here for the first of 2 in the flat fours, and therefore presumably we'll just repeat that one again very shortly, as there's your 1, 2, 3, 4 across the line. Unfortunately for Ben Christensen, all on his lonesome just coming around the final corner now as the rest of the drivers clear off the front stretch.
Over a minute behind the leader is Ben Christensen, and if we had a bigger field, then that might not be too much of an issue for him, because at least he'd have someone to race with, someone to slipstream with as well. But again, we only have 5 cars taking part in this final round, so it's going to be difficult to recover from any kind of incident you have. You'll just be trying to set qualifying laps to the end, or maybe even just cruise. Maybe the gap is just too big to overcome unless there's an incident ahead. Under 3 minutes left. The drivers should be crossing the line with, I'd say, about a minute to go or thereabouts.
Yeah, about a minute 15, I think. It's about 350 to go. They're doing 2-minute 30s, 33s or so in the hands of Robert Henry at the moment on his own. So yeah, that says to me, wind that clock back to just under a minute 20, minute 15 to go, and that should be it. There's being told, not happy faces being pulled by Cam Dance here. Now he's sitting in second place, and I guess I'm not too surprised. He needed to only take 2 tyres, as you suggested, and what I would suggest too. Looks like he went and took 4 during his compulsory pit stop there, which was not ideal because that cost him a good 6 seconds and change in stationary time. That's time he couldn't afford, and lo and behold, he's come out of the pits about 7 seconds behind Robert Henry.
And it's a shame because we saw when Henry pulled into the pits, they were very close to each other. So if Dance had nailed the pit stop, then we might have had a big battle to the very end. But for the moment, it looks like Robert Henry just needs to cruise and manage the pace, and he can get it done. These guys are doing the opposite of cruising. There goes Henry King round the outside of the penultimate turn and past Dan Stevens finally. Maybe that was a coordinated swap between the two of them to try and gain some extra time here on the final lap. But Stevens is going to get King right back with that little mistake, and well, I'll tell you what, you were right, Dan. Robert Henry crossed the line with about 1 minute and 15 seconds to go.
Good if you have some capacity for arithmetic, given my high school aptitude for maths. I'd like to hope that some of that has carried on throughout the years as, watching here now into turn 1 for Stevens and King. No exchange that time by, but given the number of opportunities that Dan Stevens will have, you'd be thinking he'll wait for the best option. As Ben Christensen has waving the hands around, he's, got all this time in the world. He clearly shows how much he cares about the situation, and can afford to relax. Quite something fierce, which is why he starts pulling that again when we get down the second of our straightaways. And there's more space to do that when he gets there, as well as into turn 5 for these two. Meanwhile, for third, and King in front, a little wide through the corner exit, and that allows Stevens to close the margin up. That grew slightly there under brakes.
Yeah, ever so slight. Well, it is a question of who is going to finish in third on this final lap. The top two already sorted. Robert Henry was 7.6 seconds ahead of Cameron Dance at the line, and it's increased to about 7.7 seconds halfway around the final lap of the race. It is between Henry King and Daniel Stevens for the third and final spot on the podium. Right now, Robert Henry, the fastest car on track, 2:32.4 was his fastest lap last time. And, well, let's see if Cam Dance can try and beat that on the final lap. Dance has the fastest lap of the entire race, 2:31.6, but that was with slipstream. Last couple of turns for our race leader, but it's still not over for third here. Can Dan Stevens go for a dive on Henry King? Henry going a little bit earlier for the apex at Canada Corner, but Stevens gets the slightly better exit, and it's all going to come down to the final turn between these two. But the final turn is a long way away for Robert Henry at the front of the field. He is going to win race 1 of the Flat Fours here at Road America, and we are one race closer to closing out the season for this championship. Henry King is weaving to try and break the draft of Dan Stevens for third place. Dance already crossing the line in second, and it's a drag race between them almost. It looks to me like it is going to be won by Henry King there. Dan Stevens obviously showing his pleasure at what a great battle that was between them. And at the very least, everyone who started the race finished it. Ben Christensen now just has to cruise to the line in 5th.
That he does, and I got my copy of the Zoom feed up to watch the end there, and Dan Stevens decided to lean out of his chair in towards the monitors and try and sort of almost. Well, he wasn't doing like the forward and back rocking in the chair like he would if you to try and like giddy up a horse, but at least trying to make that gap as small as it could be, and that will have to do us for race number 1 here tonight in the Flat Fours. And as you said, all of our 5 starters do make the finish. Unfortunately for Ben Christensen, that's a lonely P5 there for him after his mistake after the pit stop there. And Cameron Dance, unfortunately, spoiling himself from having a chance at finding Robert Henry there in the back half of race number 1. Good fight between King and Stevens, meanwhile, to keep us interested there for that final podium spot. They all get another 20 seconds of rest, and then they'll go again here for race 2 of the flat fours. Keep the grid from how they finished in race 1, and exactly the same rules and format once again coming up in just a moment's time.
Indeed. Only a single minute of warm-up in between these two races, and we start in the same order that we finished in the first race. Henry and Dance on the front row, then it's King and Stevens, 3rd and 4th. Ben Christensen taking the 5th and final spot on the grid. So it's basically going to be a repeat in terms of the way the strategy goes. Mandatory pit stop for at least 2 tyres, and you have to take that some way between the end of the second lap and the last few minutes of the race. The question is, has Cameron Dance learned from the CPS in race 1? Will he respond by taking 2 tyres again this time? I would say that you'd have to if you want any chance of taking a win to cap off what has been a great season for him.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. And hopefully the guys will stay nice and grouped up together for this final race. Although I expect we'll once again see Henry and Dance start off together and break away, and then leave it up to King, Stevens and Christensen to fight over that 3rd podium spot. Hopefully we won't have any of them drop out of their normal positions, as that there will be the end of the grid timer, and they'll start revving up their flat 4 engines. And we'll get ready to go again for 25 more minutes to bring the Flat 4 season to a close. It's a big set of 11s on the road for Cameron Dance, but it's actually a better start. He'll actually get ahead of Robert Henry as they head down towards turn number 1. And Henry King might even have a crack at P2 here if he's brave.
That was a fantastic start for Cam Dance. Definitely the most spectacular of them. Henry has to give room to Henry on the inside, and, well, it's going to sort itself out coming into the second proper corner on the lap. King falls in behind Henry, almost catches the rear of him, but Dance a little bit unstable there on the exit of the corner, and that has cost him any momentum he would have gotten from that fantastic start. Robert Henry is going to press on here. He pulls out of the slipstream, and he doesn't even need to worry about the slipstream. There's so much momentum that he has. Inside move down at turn 5, and he gets it done. Christensen, meanwhile, flings it up the inside of Dan Stevens, who has fallen to the final spot in the field. Now, this is going to be interesting. There isn't as much of a breakaway as there was this time on the first lap of race 1. Let's see if King, Christensen, and Stevens can hold on to the top 2.
Well, I think that'll be helped if Cam can get his elbows out and start really making Robert Henry work forward, as he almost puts himself in the gravel at turn 8, a bit like Christensen's spin in race 1, but he hangs on the way by the barest of margins. So he'll keep going here. They stick together now. They go 1.5 seconds currently, roughly the margin between us. We're going to see this one here on board with Cam. He's in a bit quick on the entry. That's what he carries as much as he can. Yeah, the right rear grabs the gravel, but not the left rear, and it gets that in, that difference spun up between the tyres. Thankfully able to just flick that back and hang on, as it will be single file into Canada corner on this first time in race 2.
Yeah, from what I understand, the GR86 has a very open differential, so you would say that basically there was no power going to the left rear, and the right rear was spinning completely. That's why we've seen drivers that go all 4 wheels off the track on the exit of a corner generally have a better time than those that try to keep it on the road if they run a little wide. End of lap 1 and everyone is still together. Stevens starting to fall off the back of these guys. He's going to have to nail the next few corners if he wants to stay in touch, but he does seem to still have some slipstream off the back of Ben Christensen. There goes Henry King. Coming up the inside. Yeah, could be 2 for 1. He's late on the brakes for the first turn, but, he doesn't quite get it. Robert Henry gave him just enough room to stick it up the inside, but files back in. Now it's King up to second. Look at Christensen. That is a huge dive on Cameron Dance.
It's going to fracture the group, give Stevens some slipstream, but open up a margin between the ANZ Jinx Shifters cars. And here comes Dan Stevens now with the ideal run. He's going to go past Dance and past Christensen after they tangled there at turn 3. Meanwhile, Henry King going to go up the inside of Robert Henry here to turn 5. And this time, Henry is not going to be the last late break. He tries to cut back underneath, and he will actually get it done. King with a bit of a slide through the corner exit, as it's 3 wide between the other guys at the back of this train here. Now, you need to be careful about this one. Dance will get up the inside, and it looks like that might just be P3 for the moment. Christensen backed out a little bit early to try and cut underneath, as here's the look back from Robert Henry in the lead at Henry King in second.
Oh, this is turning into a bit more of a stressful, eventful race than the previous one was. Henry with a little bit of oversteer on the way into the left-hander, and King is right there to take advantage, but the outside for the carousel. It's very hard to hold the outside line here. It's such a long and sweeping corner. The shortest route around is the best. And Henry's going to maintain side-by-side coming into the kink. Now, we have seen drivers go side-by-side through here before. Is King going to commit to it? Oh, he commits to the grass for sure. And you know what? That little bit of side-by-side running has brought third, fourth, and fifth right back into it. We are still in a close pack here. Can Daniel Stevens or Ben Christensen do anything about that?
The only way you're going to make side-by-side around the outside work is you've got to pinch the guy on the inside right on the white line. And Henry King in both occasions was making sure to leave a bit of space through the carousel and the kink there, which allowed Robert Henry to maintain enough momentum on the preferred line through the apex. He finds the grass on the inside at the final turn. That gets the inside tyres lit up, and Henry gets cut off. Everyone else stays out. This could be disaster for the Kiwi sim racing driver if these guys can all work together. But that's not looking like working together here. We're going to go 3 wide across the line, plus 1 for the end of lap 2. If these guys want to make this work, they've got to get in line. Christensen leads them for a fraction of a second. Henry King going to try an outbreaker on the outside 2x2 through turn 1. Reese's Cam leads on Dan Stevens. They still make it through the corner though.
Wow, oh, this is fantastic. Christensen now to the front of the pack and the effective race lead. Robert Henry, meanwhile, is almost halfway through his pit stop. Such a long and slow pit lane at Road America. Be interesting to see what his pit stop time is. It looks like 15 seconds for Robert Henry. That he's lost a little bit of time there, unfortunately. So that could definitely be disaster for the man who won race 1 and started on pole position. Christensen still holds on to it. Henry King managing to defend second from Dan Stevens and Cam Dance, who has fallen to the back of this pack.
Yeah, Stevens got a good run off of turn 3, able to get up the inside of Dance, but then both of them kind of got awkwardly stuck, sort of trying to figure out where to go there. And it just seemed like there was a case of, well, no one was willing to give up an inch, and they both lost a couple of meters in the process. And here now, Stevens on the defensive. Like, if they want to not give Robert Henry too much of a free pass on this early pit stop where he's gone all by himself, they need to just get back in line, guys. Like, yes, you can possibly make it back up if Robert Henry comes out ahead of you. You can all push up together to close that down, but that's just giving him a free kick in that kind of a situation here. You're better off just sticking together, single file for a lap or 2, make your gains on the straightaways, and not lose it in the corners, scrapping each other. Then you can all come into the pits or whatever you want to do, and try and make the overcut work here. As Dance, though, he wants P3 on the road here off of Dan Stevens.
Yeah, and I think in doing this, he's going to be hoping that Stevens falls back into line, but he doesn't. And, oh dear, it's going to be a bit of a toss-up between the two Kiwis here through the last couple of turns. They are losing further time to Henry King and Ben Christensen up ahead. This has been a massive fracture for this group, but Dance consolidates the move into the final corner. Do any of them go for the pits this time around? Dance is going to go for it, but Stevens is going to call his bluff and stay out.
Critically for Dan Stevens, he's 2 seconds off the back of Henry King right now. And being told a bit of a wave from Dan Stevens. I actually looked away for half a second at my relative box to miss that one there. Oh no, Dan Stevens, don't drop on us like that now.
No.
Oh, he's still going. Oh, something popped up. Oh, there's something on his screen. Look at that there. He's got something. He's got to deal with the mouse, figure out what to do, and get rid of that one there. And
yeah, all right.
Gesture. As Christensen in the meantime up the inside of Henry King to hang on to the effective lead, well, the lead of the race as it currently stands. Cam Dance, what have you got for us back in the number 6 relative to Robert Henry, who's coming up to the start-finish line now? Henry's going to get the jump on Dance again.
Yeah, certainly is, but it's a slightly quicker stop for Cam Dance. That does mean that he is a bit closer to Henry than he otherwise might be, but Robert Henry, we saw that his strength was maintaining a fast pace there at the front of the field, and I think it goes to show that all of that battling that was happening for the rest of the field after Henry came into the pits has cost them bulk time here. I think that Christensen and King have sorted themselves out here and they've gotten into a bit of a rhythm, but I still think that the time they lost is simply too much and they're going to come out behind Dance and Henry.
Looking at the gap between Henry and Dance, it's about nearly 3.5 seconds. And Dan Stevens is only 2 seconds off of Henry King. So yeah, I would expect Robert Henry takes back the effective lead of the race based on all of that there said and done. So it's not ideal. And these guys looking to go for the fight every step of the way, it seems, which is great for us when we're watching, of course, but play a strategy game and it's not worked out one bit at all here. We'll watch these three who still owe us this final pit stop of the season work their way down towards Canada corner. Christensen going to hover off the inside most of the way before they jump on the racing line to turn in here at Canada. Handle out 4. They're going to come to the pits now, get the compulsory stop out of the way, and then maybe work on trying to close up the deficit they will have to Robert Henry, or will they stay out here and try and make some advantage on the tyres they've got, which I have to say they're not making advantage, which is their big problem. Oh, they both decide to do some wall mowing on the final corner, and they, at the very least, will come into the pits. Okay, so they will get something, and Stevens will follow it. So we're going to get our compulsory stops in race 2 all out of the way nice and early, and King a little aggressive on the entry compared to Christensen. Now to see exactly what that margin is for Robert Henry. I expect it should be in the 2 to 3 second range.
Yeah, I'd expect so too. Robert Henry is already on the approach to the final corner here, and so I think it's going to be a massive lead that he gets, even over Cam Dance as well, who has not had a very good outlap. He has fallen behind quite a bit, just hitting the apex of the final turn now as Henry's just coming up the hill. Oh, wow.
Hang on.
I saw a big oversteer moment for Cam Dance coming out of the hairpin. He's pushing a little too hard, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Henry King actually got himself a bit backwards. Dan Stevens is going to win the race off pit road of those three. Again. Ben Christensen's had an absolute shocker on his transit time because their box time's all good. How's this? Oh, Stevens versus Dance is going to go straight back to it here at turn 1.
Yeah, right back to it indeed. Those few mistakes for Dance on his outlap mean that he is a bit closer to Dan Stevens than he'd otherwise want. So this is now a battle for second here, and Stevens almost forces Dance wide, but look at the exit there from the championship leader. He will secure second spot on the road with it being an out-and-out race to the end. We still have 13 minutes to go in this race, Dan. It is far from over, and we've already seen plenty of action.
They've decided, yeah, race 1 was the warm-up event. Everyone get their eye in or something, and now turned up the wick to 11 or something for us because, yeah, they've decided that there is no pause, there is no cooperation, even though Robert Henry is now out in the race lead by some 5.5 seconds. Which I'll be curious to see. Oh, he's going to put everything into it now, it seems, try and maximise his speed through the corners and be like, here, I am the beacon, I am the way. follow me if you want to catch the leader. But every little mistake like that, it costs you so much time in a car. There's such little power. You can't afford to dip a wheel in the grass or gravel, not with the way these cars are now drive and interact with your grass, your gravel, gravel in particular, of course, and its properties as sand traps and the like. But the grass too is not on the racetrack.
No, certainly not. Yeah, like you say, it does have a bit more grip now than it used to, but as we've seen plenty of times tonight, if you're driving a GR86 around Road America, it's still very slippery. Stevens in the slipstream of Dance. He's going to try up the inside of Canada corner here. Dance gets on the brakes early and says, all right, mate, you can have that. I'll just try the over-under and get a bit more pace on you that way. It is now a 3-car pack with Henry King right in the midst of it, and it's looking a bit similar to race 1 for Ben Christensen minus the spin. He has fallen right off the back of these guys. He won't be getting any slipstream benefit at all. Stevens wide out of the final corner, and Dance will undoubtedly move through to second here. Space is given. He isn't going to go for the bump draft because the difference in speed is just too high. Too much energy transfer needed. But with how close they're racing, I don't think there's any chance they're going to catch Robert Henry.
They've given up on chasing down Mr. Henry, it seems. As look at that there, Stevens will try and pop out from behind Dance now and challenge almost into turn 1. All three, well, it's Dance and Stevens in particular, they dip the left side tyres past the curb. Henry King in behind, thought about it for half a moment, but decided not to at the end of it. And again, Dance pushing it so hard through the corners, dips a tyre in the grass beyond the curb, and that will hurt his straight line speed a tiny bit more, in addition to being vulnerable relative to the two behind with their toe. Although, once again, just seeing it, of course, as Stevens gets right up behind Dance, as you said, that little bit of benefit that Dance even gets from that little air pressure difference that builds up behind his car, and gives his car maybe a kilometre or two better than Henry, who's got absolutely no one to work with. But of course, Stevens will be best off there with the slipstream prop. I just need to see if these guys will settle in, because they might be able to make up some tenths on Henry, but through the corners, it's definitely going the way of the Kiwi sim racing driver out front.
Yeah, that it is. You only need to look at the benefit that Henry got on the last lap to see how much close battling hurts you around here. 2 minutes 33.3 was Henry's last lap. Cameron Dance, 2 minutes 34.5. So Robert Henry is sitting pretty here for a double win tonight at Road America. It's not going to be enough to take the championship from Cameron Dance at this stage, but still a very nice way to cap things off for one of the star drivers of this series. There goes Stevens again to the inside of Canada corner. Now, will they do the swap? It looks like they will. Dance once again lets his fellow Kiwi go, and will give him a bit of a bump on the exit to say, hurry up, mate, we've got to try and catch Robert.
I mean, yeah, if you can make it work in terms of allowing the other car that gets the slipstream to get by, it might work, but looking at the deltas to Robert Henry, it's not giving them a benefit. Stevens isn't that much faster by the time he pulls out. It's costing them time through the corner itself, despite the pushback there, as we'll see here. Dance looking for something on his keyboard. Stevens taking a moment to scratch initially on the head. As they'll now, this time, okay, they will stick together. They will give each other the proper push here. So, looks like they may be willing to cooperate for a lap or two, because they're not making any errors. You see that on that last lap, Stevens technically takes, actually no one takes time out of Robert Henry, because he's still putting in good enough time solo to outdo these three as they push each other around. But the thing is, they're not pushing, they've just been sort of back and falling.
Yeah, that's it. Dan Stevens managed to get within 0.02 of a second of Robert Henry's lap that time, but was still slower by just a little bit. So at the moment, nothing doing for these three as they try to chase Robert Henry down. I think they're going to have to settle into this being a battle for second for the time being. The only chance they're going to have to catch up to Henry is if he makes a little mistake.
And yeah, that is exactly it. You're not going to find 5 seconds in, I would say. And my timing says there's 2-3 laps left when they get to the line next time. They can maybe take a second out of him, perhaps by the end of the race, but that's also if they just don't fight themselves at all. And I would suspect they'll get to it at some point here. As through the carousel, Dance looks a little to the outside on entry, but has to get back in line because there's no way for him to hang it wide, although he'll push the limits of the curb there on exit, trying to keep his speed up. And they'll have to on Dan Stevens through the kink. Here we'll see, does he move out to the inside? Stevens roughly middle of the road for a bit, but nope. Door is open for Dance to go up inside that Kennecott. Will Henry King try to follow suit? No, King will get back in line. So just the one exchange. This time it's Dance going through Stevens.
Right, now I would say that Dance, being technically the fastest driver in the group, will want to stay at the front and maybe get a push from these three. I'm wondering if they're in any kind of communication to try and work together here. They're not going to have much time to do it. 6 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Robert Henry having just crossed the start-finish line now. That is going to be 3 laps remaining in the race. There goes Dan Stevens once again in the slipstream up into top gear and getting a little bit of extra speed. Top velocity of 191 kilometers per hour on the way into the first turn.
I'll be curious to watch on this next little part here how things go as they try and settle themselves in for turn 3. You can see, obviously, from my perspective, a Dance sticking to the apex curb. Stevens went past it with the inside tyres. Either way, fairly even as there we go from Dan Stevens. Sorry, once again. I saw him do that at the end of the race 1. He'll do it again here. Peering forward into the veil, it seems that Robert Henry is disappearing up the road on these guys. Despite their efforts on the last lap now. And into turn 5. They'll get that one pulled up nicely. No one overdrives the exit. Question is this enough from Dan Stevens? Is he getting enough kick? Oh, no, there you go. Turn 6 runs it in deep. And now they're all trying to sort out what to do. But Dance then parks the inside line. Going through turn 7. So, yeah. And I think this is the thing, they have to concede now. This isn't a fight for second. There is no race for the win because they fought for too long. Well, they fought. It's actually full stop.
Yeah.
Too long about it. They chose to fight, and that immediately spelled the end of any chance of catching Robert Henry. They've just considered they've lost time every lap. So now it's all about the mind games amongst the 3 of these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, boy. Okay. Through the kink. Fastest corner on the track and probably the most dangerous. The wall is so close because a railway line actually runs through the forest back there. That's the reason why they can't really extend the runoff there. Stevens, meanwhile, a little bit narrow coming into Canada corner. And, well, Dance does the over-under a little on the exit. Henry King right now probably looking at all this going, okay, guys, can we sort this out and move our way forward? King has been just sitting back, hasn't he? He hasn't been involving himself in the fight like Dance and Stevens have been.
Indeed, yeah. Let's watch here this time, though. Speed rising for Henry King in the double toe of Stevens and Dance. Want to see if he'll actually pull up because Dance has not moved out from behind Stevens. So there we go. Henry's going to be the first to move out there, but not close enough. All 3 of them trying to break as late as they dare into turn 1. And it means they stay where they were, although bad run for Dan Stevens at the front of the group. But short enough stretch to turn 3, but that's not going to be an issue there. It's all about the setup now towards here at turn 5. And Henry King looks strong on that particular occasion, but here they come, being towed along by Dan.
Oh, there goes Henry King. Gets out of the slipstream, but the bump draft between Dance and Stevens, it seems, is a good match for him, but he does have the advantage on the way into the next corner. Dance is going to have to give him room. Stevens is going to have to give him room as well. Dance moves to the inside again to try and get back past Dan Stevens. But nothing doing, only a very short blast between the corners. And Stevens gets on the power nice and quickly, coming out of the next left-hander. Oh, he's going to try and force it up the inside of King again here. That's a bit too much grass. That's ruined his momentum and maybe destabilized the car a little bit. So now it is Henry King's turn to lead this pack.
Just to watch here, we've got a lap and a half to go. Cam has been playing pretty conservative the past little while. It seems happy to allow Stevens and King to make their moves. So now I guess it's his turn to line up to be the one third in the train down the front straight in particular, you'd think. As Dan Stevens, I'd say he's checking for a watch, but there's definitely nothing on that wrist. So hopefully that's not some sign of, say, like a little hand cramp there for him, as he'll move to the inside of Henry King down towards Canada corner. Alright, Cam Dan, so I'm watching for you here. What are you going to do? Because King's going to try and defend the spot. Okay, this is critical now, basically. So there's no margin here for Cam Dan to have a run-up. He doesn't really want one, though, I think, because if he starts too far back, then all the slipstream is great, but you then basically don't get a chance to make a move. Maybe a car length back from here. He's going to actually almost bump King into the final turn, but not quite. Stevens will take it off of King as they'll come towards the white flag, which Robert Henry is going to see in just a moment's time at the top of the hill, as he continues to extend his margin. And then we'll see 2, 3, 4 nose to tail here in a moment, Reese.
Looks like one car coming over the top of the hill. They're so close together.
You can say it is. You can say it is indeed. All right, folks. One more lap remains for our flat fours in 2023. Can Cam dance? Nope, he won't make it at turn 1. So he's going to prepare for turn 5, you'd think then, as they all commit as deep as they can, otherwise, at least between Stevens and King. And so status quo remains for at least another corner.
Yeah, well, I think Dance is the one with the biggest advantage here. He is a little bit further behind now, but he has the space to take advantage of the slipstream, and he's not going to actually go for it right away coming out of the corner. I think he's just hanging back, waiting for the opportunity. He wants second place. He wants that back.
There you go, King around the outside with the toe on Dan Stevens. Stevens late on the brakes will take back the inside line, and Cameron Dance got a bit of overlap on King now as they come up to turn 7 under the bridge, and yep, he'll take that spot. That's turn 6, apologies there. So Dance gets 1 there, so it took him nearly half a lap to eye off an ideal moment for that one, but he'll pick King off as they work their way past turn 7 there, and then down towards turn 8 through the hurry downs here at this stage, as they will keep losing time to Robert Henry. That's basically a non-issue here. It's all about which of these 3 drivers comes out second, who comes out third, and who will have to sit back and observe in 4th. As around the carousel for the last time they will come, Dance is going to lean on the left side tires. He goes wide. Can he set up Dan Stevens? In fact, he will. He'll try and get the overlap here. We saw this didn't work for Henry King. Can Dance turn it in hard enough? Nope. He's going to run all the way to the grass.
Oh.
And that will be his challenge. Sure, done.
Oh, no! Oh, that was a big smack to the side between Dance and King. Has that damaged Cameron Dance to the point that he's going to have issues getting to the line? He maintains the speed. Dan Stevens is going to hold on to second. The drama was happening all behind him. Little bit of gravel. Yes, that's going to ruin his momentum coming out of the corner. It's going to be a final turn showdown between these 3 for second place. It's going to be 3 wide on the way into the last turn here. Oh, it's difficult, but Dan Stevens is going to get it. There goes Dance to the inside as he picked up a slowdown. Yeah, not too sure. Robert Henry isn't worrying about any of that, though. He takes the win once more here at Road America. Maximum points out of the final round, but with a 4th place finish, Cameron Dance is going to take that slowdown right at the line. Oh, Dan Stevens and Henry King super close, but across the line to Cam Dance comes, and we can confirm that he is the champion for the flat fours for 2023. But shout out to Robert Henry. It's always good when we can barely give any airtime to a driver because they're so far out in front.
Well, they certainly made that one feisty for that final lap stoush. The fact they committed to 3 wide up into the final corner rather than try and find a way to sort them out. And yeah, just the moment I saw Cam flick to the inside, Henry King was already coming across to try and do the same on Dan Stevens. And yeah, the only place for Cam was the grass well past the apex curb which cost him as a result. Although he'll still take 4th place, of course, clearing that penalty before he took the flag. Ben Christensen, unfortunately for him, ends up in practically no man's land in P5. Didn't see him have a spin or anything, just no pace whatsoever when he got dropped after the compulsory pit stop wave occurred for those guys early on here in the second and final race for the Flat Fours tonight race.
Yes, well, Henry, Stevens, King are your podium for race 2. Cam Dance finishes 4th and Ben Christensen rounding out the field 26 seconds behind. That is going to conclude the running for the Flat Fours for Road America. Now we're going to put the engine in the back and add 2 cylinders. The Flat Sixes coming up next here on SimSpeed TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
You're watching SimSpeed TV. V8SCOPS supports the final Friday night of 2023. It was sheer domination from Robert Henry in the Flat Fours, and he joins us now in the comms box for a chat about that. Congratulations, Robert. Maximum points from the final round. Maybe not maximum since you missed out on pole position, but still, it was all about keeping it out in front while everyone battled behind.
Yeah, getting it into the lane. I think was pretty critical. Same as it's been all season with the CPS races. 2 left side tyres was several seconds quicker than any other combination, so I just did that. Managed to get solo in the pit lane in both races, so I was able to push and do at least 3-4 purple sectors on the outlaps. So that meant at least 3 seconds gap on exit of the pits for the other guys. So it was management from there. So good race all round.
Yeah, certainly. It did seem like you were well in tune with the Toyota GR86, and, well, it secures you second place in the Drivers' Championship for the Flat Fours as well, so all up, 2023 been a pretty good year for you.
Yep, not bad. Bathurst last time out was a bit of a blot with 2 DNFs in the 3 races, but Cam had a really good consistent season, so he deserves that championship win there.
Yeah, certainly. Well, thanks for joining us throughout the season, Robert, and we hope to see you racing again in V8SCOPS supports next year. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for your results tonight?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously the team, Kiwi Sim Racing, good bunch of blokes there, and main sponsor there is Speed Nation, so shout out to those boys.
And shout out to you for joining us, Robert. Thanks very much, and yeah, hopefully we'll catch you next time.
Cheers, boys. Good luck for the call.
All right, Robert Henry, winner of both races in the Flat Fours, and now we move on to the Flat Sixes, Dan, bringing the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car out one last time in this league anyway. We still have AOG Porsche Cup to contend with and a few other championships besides, but this is how things stand coming into this round. Simon Mazzomo, the championship leader. Cameron Dance, having just come from the Flat Fours to the Flat Sixes, is going to be dealing with a bit of a gap ahead to Mazzomo, but he has got Peter Pavlovich breathing down his neck.
He sure does, yeah. It's looking like it'll be a bit like Cam in the Flat Fours. Mez's championship tonight to lose in the Flat Sixes here. And yeah, Cam's going to keep his nose clean if he wants P2 there over Peter Pavlovich. And both drivers here in attendance tonight. Will be one to watch. And then in behind them, we do have Matthew Deere here, but not seeing Anthony. Oh, sorry, Anthony Green is here too. My apologies. So the two of them, we could potentially see an exchange for fourth in the class here, and then that will be it by the looks of things. There's yeah, no sign of Ben Peterson or Dylan Shepherd, nor Craig Mason. Robbie Bradbury is here. So actually, looking at the points for Robbie, he will stand to hop into P8 and clear there, and that will be it as our remaining drivers who are in the session tonight are outside the top 10. Well, they're in the midst of qualifying race, and for these guys tonight, rather than being time certain like it was for our Flat Fours, they will run 13-lap races here tonight, but same rules in the form of both races being compulsory stop for at least 2 tyres and the progressive grid into race 2 as well.
Indeed, that does seem to be the way of it, and the drivers will be focusing on qualifying for the time being. Matthew Deere is the fastest man in qualifying right now, but he's only 13 thousandths of a second ahead of Brett O'Keefe in the number 22. It'll be interesting to see how things go for the likes of them, with Bradbury, Dance, Pavlovich yet to really set times that reflect their true performance. Bradbury has not set a lap time at all, but we will see the Pacific Esports racing car come across the line to set a 209.8 to start things off. That puts him down in 6th position. We currently have 9 cars competing in this session. Anthony Green putting Mark Noble to the back of the field with a 211.743. But right now, looks like low 209s, high 208s is what you should be aiming for.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. Not got someone yet to crack into the 208 marker, so be curious to see if someone can do it here. Someone like Cam Dance, he's going to come up across the line here, and this will be his last lap in the session. So looking to go better than a 209.7, although got no slipstream here at the end of the lap at the very least, and will abort. So there is going to be no better than P5 at least for your defending series champ and driver looking to go to runner-up position at the very least in this one. Simon Mazzomo, new paint scheme for 9.5 Sim Sports being debuted here tonight. We'll also see it on Sunday night race for the V8SCOPS finale here when the drivers who make it into, I presume, split 1.9.5 crew at least as usual, do the 250k race to round the season off. A bit of artwork there from RSW Graphics for the team. Yeah,
indeed, looks very nice indeed. We're Not quite used to seeing these cars yet. We've become accustomed to the very kinetic 9.5 livery that we've seen in the past, but I do like that one. It looks very nice indeed. Got some shades of martini with Simon Mazzomo coming out of the final corner now to the line. Can he improve on fourth spot? 209.5 is the quickest time for him so far, and he will set a 209.0 and goes to pole position by 1,000th of a second.
There you go. Yep, locks it out with 3 zeros. So for a second there, when it stopped at 209.000, I thought maybe that's going to update slightly on us, but no, it locks in exactly there as our last couple of cars are going to, Anthony Green, our last car rounding the final corner now, potentially settle out. The 2 cars ahead will pull in. So this is it for qualifying here once the throwaway crosses the line, looking to improve on a 211.7. Should go to the 10s at least here, I think. Yep, we'll find a second on his current personal best. Unfortunately for him, will not improve position, but at least show that should have some potential to stay with the back of the pack. And with that said and done, we can now bring up the times and get ready for the grid here for race 1 of our flat sixes. Oh, that's the right names, but looks like our overlay software going to have a moment there, rendering the wrong cars on us.
Yes, still in flat 4s mode, but we move through into the race session and we can bring those up very shortly. So, championship leader coming into this round. Likely that he's going to take the title if he has an all-right night. Simon Mazzomo starting on pole position alongside Matthew Deere. Brett O'Keefe is going to start alongside Garen Batten, who we haven't seen in a while, starting out of 4th spot behind these two you're seeing on screen right now. We then have Cameron Dance starting in 5th place alongside Robbie Bradbury in the Pacific Esports Racing at number 35. Peter Pavlovich, Bradbury's teammate, starts alongside KRF Anthony Green, and the second KRF car of Mark Noble is going to start behind him in 9th. We have Henry King in race control and Aaron Gilbert manning the safety car once again, and it is once more a standing start for these flat sixes. I'll tell you one advantage of having the small fields that we've seen tonight, Dan. We see a big field like in V8SCOPS. You have drivers at the back of the field starting uphill. They don't have that issue here.
No, they certainly don't. Keeps everyone nice and compact, yeah, relatively speaking indeed. So we'll see how they can navigate things here to get things underway. Hopefully not too many issues with the launch here tonight for the drivers. So just waiting out the grid time here before we get going. Mazzomo versus Deere for row 1. QC here with Garen Batten, new to the series tonight, but now the NRG paint scheme on the car, not super familiar with it, but I do have some encounters with it through the major series here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. We'll keep an eye out for the timer to hit 0 in just a moment, and the revs will then rise as the flag also rises. Who will get the best standing start? Flat sixes at Road America is go, and Simon Mazzomo gets a nice jump there. Unfortunately, yes, he did stall Anthony Green, unfortunately. It's not quite the start that he would have wanted to go for, but Mazzomo gets the lap down, the power down on the start. Matthew Deere still holding on to 2nd place. Garen Batten, though, under pressure from Brett O'Keefe, and Robbie Bradbury trying his best to stake his claim to a position in the top 4.
All right, let's see. Oh, off into the weeds goes, I think that was, is that broke? No, it's Pavlovich, and that's the worst thing possible for Peter. Needs to be able to go chase Cam Dance down, and whilst Cam's in the middle of the pack, that now puts Pavlovich at the rear as they make their way down into turn 5 here on lap 1 of 13. And then work their way back up the hill here as we look towards back of the pack. In behind Cam Dance, that's Mark Noble, who's dropped back a bit off the start, had to basically make space for Dance going slow, and then the drama around that car there to get underway. But looks like otherwise they wind up to speed down towards turn 8. And yeah, Matthew Deere keeping with Mazzomo, and Garen Batten up at the 3rd. Pardon me, not up at the 3rd, apologies. Yes, no, that is very much up at my point. We're going to watch that replay here. The sun, yeah, just no response from Dance. Pavlovich, gets going and just lights it up trying to go around him, but there's a car on the outside there. Anthony Green taking the hit there in the process.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Anthony Green, but looks like the car was hit in a place that isn't affecting the front suspension. That's something the drivers have had to consider with the 911 GT3 Cup this year, is since the upgraded version of the new damage model was introduced on this car, it's turned out that hits to the wheels are basically a death sentence. So at the end of the first lap of 13, with a time limit of 45 minutes, barring safety cars, Simon Mazzomo leading from Matthew Deere by half a second. The battles are truly further on back, with the last two spots being fought over by Green and Pavlovich, but it's still on for third too. Looking back from Garen Batten at Brett O'Keefe, who rounds him up coming into turn one, but a little bit of oversteer right in the middle of the corner puts paid to the exit, and that's going to bring Bradbury and Dance right back into it too.
Yep, exits are so critical. Well, if they are slightly more critical in a car like the Flat 4, but certainly just as important here in these Flat 6s with more power and no driver aids to help you get that power down to the ground. You have to be pretty careful of things. And these Michelin tyres do start out a little cold on these Porsche 992 generation Cup cars. It's just there in the background shot. I saw Bradbury thinking about defending from Cam Dancing into turn 5. Further on back is Pavlovich up the inside of Anthony Green at turn 5. No defence offered by the 308, so exchanges happen fairly easily. As one of our two drivers left on Zoom, we've got Cam Dance still on the wall, but been joined by Simon Mazzomo for this one. Here he says this is what it looks like out the back wing of his 9.5 SimSport machine, staring at Matthew Deere, keeping him half a second honest.
A little bit wide in the carousel though. That's okay. You can double apex this corner, but that's a bit too much. Oh no! Deere avoids him, but that's a spin on the exit of the carousel, right when the field is all together. And so Mazzomo's just waiting for the next two cars to come by so he can get a safe re-entry back onto the racetrack. Absolute disaster for the championship leader.
Thankfully, due to the field of 9 tonight, that should be okay. But yeah, deficit of only 24 points to the race winner for that one there. But that's not ideal to be doing that. And yeah, goes from leading, if by half a second, which wasn't all that much, to just, trying to chop that line back towards the apex of the carousel and not making it work. As we now watch Deere, Patton, O'Keefe, Bradbury and Dance there all packed up second, and they're not too far behind Matthew Deere in the race leaders. Anthony Green's going to be the first car to the pit lane in the 308 to get his compulsory service complete, as Dance is going to finish getting up the inside of Bradbury there. That was a full front straight coming there. Batten's had a moment on his own, it seems, at turn 1.
Yeah, it looked like he might have caught the gravel. No, actually, the rear just got away from him in the middle of the corner. Fortunately, he's managed to get that rhythm back, but that's not good. We'll see what happened once more to Mazzomo. He just caught the grass on the inside and the curb unsettled him, and round he went. Great avoidance by Matthew Deere, and good heads-up driving from everyone involved. They were able to all take avoiding action. Meanwhile, Batten, the car's already gone by this point, and almost around he goes. He jumped on the brakes to keep the car going straight. Some good heads-up driving from him too.
Indeed, yeah. And a little tap there for, we look back at the original replay of the Mazzomo and Deere. Looks like there's just a tiny hit through the corner of both those cars as Mazzomo's vehicle. Apologies again. Apparently having a can of Coke before starting the broadcast was not a great idea. But little tap too. There we go. We see it now. Yeah, impressed on that right rear quarter of Mazzomo's 954. You should see potentially a matching blemish on the front left corner of the 116, although the cars don't perfectly represent that. So it looks like, according to that angle at least, and if I confirm by going to a TV angle of his car, you actually can't see the matching indent on his vehicle. So looks to have got away with that one on his end a little bit more so than Mazzomo did, on top of losing all that time as they come up to the end of lap 3 here. And good to see Mez wait that one out. I mean, he could have backed it up, I guess, off the road and tried to rejoin further up the track, but Chosa just waited out until Anthony Green was well clear before flicking that thing around. Of our front running drivers here, no one's going to take to the pits this time by. Looks like they're all going to try and stay out on track for a little longer here before committing. Although Mark Noble will join his teammate in Anthony Green, having come to the pits already. In fact, Green got out just before the leaders came through. And yeah, he's barely a half a straight from going a lap down here. Reese, I'm not sure why he's had such a long opening stop there.
Well, he would have been repairing damage from the start line incident.
You know, good point. I should have seen that coming. And, I've gone for a complete brain fart moment there. Not calling that one as it was.
Maybe you need another Coke.
Maybe indeed, but at the same time, I should probably also go to bed not too long after this broadcast ends. I have myself some work to do tomorrow. Anthony Green's had a solo moment off turn 8, sorry. He needs to get that one out of the way and get going again, because that now cuts down his advantage to the race leaders. This is on board with Cam Dance coming up to seat corner turn 8. Still working the limits of the road here now in this Porsche. As the number 1 machine will come up to the carousel once more. We'll see here, bringing in and just having to roll out of the throttle. Front end very mechanically limited in these cars. With basically no aero apart from the wing on these things, and maybe a bit of underfloor helping you out. And the front tyres not particularly compliant, it seems, is one of the things I've heard drivers talk about this car. It seems very much rear dominant.
Yeah, which isn't always the best at a track like Road America. Not only do you have high-speed corners like Turn 1, the Carousel and the Kink, but every other corner around this place is pretty sharp in comparison to the terminal velocity you reach around this place. This final turn is one of the more sweeping ones, but you go through turn 3, turns 5, 6, 7, 8. They are very sharp corners, and you need a compliant front end for that. And they would have trimmed off quite a bit of the downforce to get the straight line speed. Not saying that there's much you can do to change the settings on these cars, but yeah, it certainly results in something that's a bit difficult to deal with at the best of times, as we've already seen from plenty of these drivers. And adding to that is how difficult it is to drive on cold tyres. The tyres start out icy on this thing, which means when they come in for their compulsory pit stop, they face a bit of a dilemma as to which tyres to change.
Yep, do you change the side that's going to be faster, which we'll have to see here for the left side tyres. I mean, the shame is we can't see what tyres they change yet. I'd love to hope that maybe that'll be rolled out across the iRacing service more generally, because it's a thing over on the ovals with the Dallara IR18 and the NASCAR family of vehicles. But it'd be good to see that eventually roll out in due course, to be able to see pit crews. And actually then we can say, rather than guessing what side of the tyres is, what you heard from Roy Henry is Anthony Green there in the grass, unfortunately off to the side of shot for a moment, has gone around and now waiting for the rest of the field to make their way past and put him well over a lap down, as Mark Noble's had trouble at turn 3 on his own in the 63 as well.
Both KRF cars not having a great time tonight. Oh, they have another race coming up to try and redeem that. Brett O'Keefe, meanwhile, second place, and Cameron Dance is steadily jetting up to the potential lead here. Matthew Deere has managed to hold on to a great gap in the lead, but Dance has been running some stonking lap times and trying to make his way through on people as well.
The thing is, though, yeah, going on my numbers, last lap around was definitely advantage Deere.
Oh, yeah, massive. But we'll see that O'Keefe was 5/10 slower than Dance on the last lap. Let's see what it is this time around. Across the line they come. It's a 2:09.4 from Deere. O'Keefe 2:10.0, and Cameron Dance 2:10.0 as well. So scratch what I just said. Apparently Cameron Dance has hit a metaphorical wall.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised by that, as it were, given that going to have to try and find a way past Mr. O'Keefe here for second place. And getting a little bit of slipstream potentially down these straights, but it takes away what little front end downforce you might get on these things. And yeah, like as you said, limited car setup options is basically the roll bars, which don't change the dynamics of the car all that much. The ride heights at the front and the rear, and the rear wing angle is about it, along with the brake bias. And the general rule of thumb has been with these cars, just set the wing to minimum and maybe tweak that rear ride height a tiny bit depending on how much you want the car to be, a little bit looser or push through the faster corners, or perhaps a little tight into understeer on you a bit there instead. On this particular occasion, there you go, O'Keefe is slow enough actually just going to completely let go of Dance and say, "You're not my fight tonight. I will happily let you lead me around the circuit here."
Yeah, righto. Well,
Dance, they got a little deep through the carousel.
Yeah, once again, the double apex line that I was referring to before. Unlike Mazomo, Dance manages to make it work coming out of the carousel. And fortunately for him, this car is a little bit better when you're going half a car into the grass than the GR86 that we saw racing just before.
Yep, yeah, it can behave a little better. It can behave a lot. It can behave worse though if you're in a position where you're putting the power down on a loaded tyre. That is, I guess, the if and the but of that statement. As we'll see here now, what is this going to look like for these guys here? As we're looking at a few stats on the tower tonight, and I actually didn't know we had a reaction time stat, but impressive to see that, yeah, we do have something you can actually see that fastest getaway from the line, looks like it belonged to Brett O'Keefe there in the 22. Less than half a second for him to get going in response to the lights. As our first pit stop taker will be Garen Batten in the number 3. He'll head to the lane to change over at least 2 tyres here. Get his compulsory service done at the halfway mark as everyone else carries on out on the racetrack.
Yeah, that they do.
Actually, sorry, apologies. We had Mark Noble and Anthony Green come in. They were towards the back of the pack already, though. Garen was sitting P6 for his moment before pitting.
Yeah, indeed he was. Well, Brett O'Keefe is not letting Cameron Dance get away from him. I'm wondering if this is if that was not just a go for it, mate move from O'Keefe to let Dance go, but maybe something tactical. You know, he's trying to catch up to Matthew Deere a little bit by staying in the slipstream of Cam Dance, because as we've seen over the past few laps, their pace is actually quite similar.
Yeah, I have to say credit to Brett O'Keefe. I haven't seen steady pace like this from him much this season, I feel like, and keeping Matthew Deere somewhat honest, even though the margin is out past 5 seconds now. That still means that Deere can't have too many mistakes, if any, and hang on to the lead of the race. So valuable there all the same. As we'll watch these two continue to track on down to Canada Corner this time now. This will put us past the halfway mark here with 7 laps complete. Actually, they'll have 6 laps to go once they get to this one in a moment. Still, only 3 takers for compulsory pits up out of 9 cars. And they're going to start diving in. Looks like they're going to run these tyres as long as they can and put the cold ones on as late as they can, it seems.
Yeah, make hay while the sun shines, as it were. Matthew Deere, I just noticed, had a big snap of oversteer coming out of the final corner, so he's not immune to unstable car behavior. And these are the track conditions right now, 31 degrees Celsius as we're coming up to midday in sim time. That seems pretty reasonable conditions for these cars. As we check out Matthew Deere's little moment here on the exit of the final turn, slow-mo on, and whoop, nicely held there, but shows you just how hard he's pushing to try and keep this lead, which is blown out all the way to 5.1 seconds. And it's only now that Cameron Dance is really starting to challenge him for outright pace, running 0.02 of a second faster, almost 0.03 faster on the previous lap.
Yeah, this will be interesting to watch indeed how the pace goes, but yeah, healthy margin up front for Deere means that don't see him being under threat too much. if you see if Keith can just hang on to this draft of Cameron Dances for a couple more laps and really maybe even continue to challenge for P2 in the later stages of the race. This is now Dance's time to consolidate and shine as again he'll go for that. He actually gets the grass like Mazomo, but the car doesn't get away from him. There.
Well then, easy does it, Brett. The kink is one of the places where you expect drivers to understeer off a little bit, but it's always difficult to watch when someone goes off there. Dance still continuing to push as hard as possible, just clipping the gravel on the exit of Canada Corner. Exit of the kink is where this happened for Brett O'Keefe, and fortunately there isn't much in the way of bumps in that grass, so he was able to hold it, but it would still have been a pretty wild ride. Keeping an eye on Robbie Bradbury as well in 4th place. He ran, wow, that's quite the margin, 8/10 slower than Peter Pavlovich on the last lap. It seems that the lap times have equalized a bit. He's only 4/10 slower this time around. Still, could be a bit of a matchup between the Pacific Esports Racing teammates for the last spot in the top 4.
Indeed, yeah, that will be curious to play out. Still got to stop. They both owe us, so could be a game here of who. Just all right then, Cam. We get the memo. he's about to turn 5 and got time to check a message even in these flat 6 cars. And was it even type a message out? Maybe not, at least not where I can see it, but who knows? Could have been talking somewhere, anywhere, and decides that time's up. Better actually focus on the braking marker in a track like this, in a car like this. So he'll focus up through this part of the circuit at least. And yeah, clock off almost another lap here. Still yet to pit all these drivers. So no one going for the undercut and taking the penalty of cold tyres early, as again Dance pushing the limits of where the rubber is on track to hook it back to the curb for that late straight exit. Pushing limits a little bit with the left side tyres as well once he gets there.
Yeah, very much so. Cam definitely has been very comfortable in the flat 6s, not just in this series but also in others like the AOG Porsche Cup in the past, and whenever the Majors series has run these cars too. You always got to look out for him. He really likes racing these things. Coming up to the end of the 9th lap of 13, so all things considered, V8SCOPS rules dictate as Deere we see comes into the pits, and it looks like O'Keefe is going to follow him in. Dance will stay out for at least another lap. And, well, yeah, he's not even looking at the track right now. I was going to say, V8SCOPS rules dictate the pit window opens at the end of lap 2 and closes at the end of the third last lap, I believe. The last 2 laps you can't pit on. So that is the rule, and so Dance is going to have to pit at the end of this lap, I think, if he wants to stay within the rules.
Oh, Peter Pavlovich.
Oh.
Turn 3, the 216 has found the grass. He's rejoined now. There's actually a certain something in the corner of the back corner of Mr. Mazomo's screen. That's. Let's just say that was a lot of time and effort, it seemed, to get that one sorted out for him. Good to see it's up with him now. After he actually had to come down to Melbourne and visit us down here. As unfortunately for Peter Pavlovich, it's a little less serious than I thought, but an excursion to the grass nevertheless at turn 3. Sees him say hello there. Cam can come in at the end of lap 11, and that would satisfy the CPS window. So he's got 2 more opportunities to come down the lane. Well, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'm being told by Director Jay Kennedy I can talk about the trophy back there. It's one of my AOG Porsche Cup trophies. At the very first series we actually got a chance to do trophies for. made possible big thanks to Sonic Motor Racing Services. They actually used Porsche 911 Cup car brake discs.
Oh, wow.
Made that possible. And then to Ethan at Card Effects Designs for printing out a little design that we mocked up for it. And Jay, they're actually grabbing a hero card that he had file on this way to get Mez's paint job from that 2020 Season 6 year-long calendar on the hat of the rotor there, and then bolt that all together. And Mez had a chance to come down with family for a drive day experience at Sandown, and I hand that one off to him because shipping rates on a multi-kilogram brake rotor, not cheap.
Even domestically. Well,
we've got to get one to Cam as well.
Yeah, true. Speaking of Cam, he comes into the pits, and he is followed in by Bradbury. There goes Mazomo to the race lead, but remember, Mazomo still owes us a pit stop. He is going to have the mother of all overcuts, and it's going to be the end of this lap that's going to be the last chance for drivers to pit. Mazomo, the last driver to owe us a pit stop. That mistake and spin that he had earlier has resulted in him having to commit to the biggest of overcuts he can possibly get. So those are the stats between Cameron Dance and Matthew Deere. Dance has caught up to Deere a little bit there in the pit cycle, but is it going to be enough for him to really have a run at the overall race lead?
He's going to have to find, well, what's his gap? About 2 and a bit seconds. He's going to, 2.2. He's going to find about a second on this lap and the next lap, despite having cold tyres on half the car, to be in with a shot on the final lap to get some slipstream and then size something up. So it's going to be a bit of an ask, I would think, unless Deere puts a foot wrong somewhere here in these last couple of laps, I would suggest.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Matthew Deere to lose out in this race. He's been the most consistent, I think, of all the drivers out there. And certainly looking very quick in the latter part of this season. Right now, as we mentioned in the pre-show, Mazomo doesn't have much in the way of pressure here to take the championship with such a small field. Despite his spin, he's not quite in danger yet, but certainly could be if he ends up retiring from either or both of these races tonight. Let's see then, as he comes into the pit lane at the end of this lap, what the transit time and pit stop time is like. Quickest pit stop was Cameron Dance, that number you saw before, around 13.3 seconds, and a 44-second lane transit time. Will Mazomo be able to match that and try and get himself a finish in the top 6, maybe even top 5? Let's see then as Deere files back through to the race lead. Cameron Dance back through to second. Brett O'Keefe, solid 3 or so seconds, maybe closer to 2, behind Cameron Dance. And Mazomo has only just gotten to his pit box now.
Costly pit lane transit, as you mentioned here at Road America. Super long pit lane, fairly low pit speed limit. He's going to pop out well behind Peter Pavlovich. It's P7 for the 954 entry, and I think that will be where he ends that one there, as the gap is still 2.3 seconds to Cameron Dance from Matthew Deere, so this is now very much Deere's race to lose. We'll have to negotiate Anthony Green here, which would unfortunately put the 308 battle, which is back a lap down, and Anthony's been able to just get back on the lead lap through after the pit stop cycle worked its way out. We're getting the blue flags here for the 116, who's less than a second now off of him, and Anthony will come after the carousel. No, actually, through the carousel, we can leave the inside open for your rest lead.
You can indeed. Mazomo has come out in 7th place, and he's about 7 odd seconds behind Peter Pavlovich, so I don't think there's going to be much danger of Mazomo threatening the top 6 with this. But second last lap for Matthew Deere holds the 2-second gap over Cameron Dance, and While Dance is looking quick here at the end of the race, all Deere needs to do is hit his marks. All he needs to do is cruise. Similar situation for to what it was for Robert Henry in the flat fours. Get into the lead, hold that lead, and if everything goes right, then you will take victory. Just one more transit of Road America to go, and Deere could grab the win here in race 1 of the flat sections, but anything can happen around such a dangerous track.
Yep, I saw that too, Jake. Blue flag. Oh.
Oh, all right. I'm going for first. Oh, dear.
That's the alternative interpretation of that one, Reese. Yeah, what happened was there was a bump back through the final corner. Cam tried to cross underneath Anthony on corner exit. Then he went to go past him, and then there was a bit of a jockeying, shall we say, up past pit entry here. So this is what I saw here on my eyes. Yeah, tried to get underneath, just got in the rear bumper. Okay, then is out alongside, and hello.
Oh, yeah, all right. So I guess, yeah, Cam's reaction is understandable, seeing that full incident. But, yeah, I don't know if it was entirely intentional there by Anthony Green, probably just misreading the situation.
You'd hope so. And then it does make out Cam's reactions a bit overblown as a result. Yeah, just a situation seems where a case of, yeah, faster car does not time it quite right. All in all, it was a bit of a harmless bump by the looks of things. You'd argue as well, though, so maybe no need to get too crazy with it, perhaps in the future. But alas, to go for these guys as well. Robbie Bradbury just ahead of Peter Pavlovich, but it has been suggested by a fellow Pacific Esports racing driver, Steve Banks, that there might be a little switch here just to do everything to help Peter out on the points front. Maybe coming in this one here, because Robbie, yeah, cycling on that last lap, over 3 seconds slower than Peter, and looks to be in no rush to get this race complete. As we come up to okay, yeah, there's an exchange on my end, but we'll jump to the front of the field for the final time in race 1 through the final corner, Reese, and it will be Matthew Deere who will see out this race and take the race win here to start his night off in the flat sixes.
Beautiful drive by Matthew Deere across the line, and that is a victory by something around 3.9 seconds over Cameron Dance. Brett O'Keefe crosses the line in third. Lovely stuff. And there is the switch there. Pavlovich ahead of Robbie Bradbury by 9/10 of a second. The Pacific Esports Racing duo 5th and 6th at the end. And that is going to have our run through of results before we get into the final race of the night. Dear Dance O'Keefe, your podium. Mizomo, unfortunately, from pole position to 7th after that very unfortunate spin through the carousel. Mark Noble is the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Anthony Green ended up making it to the finish, which is good considering what happened to him early on, having to pit for damage after contact off the starting grid. Well, that's going to round things out. 1 minute of warm-up to go, and then we can get into race 2, Dan. For the time being, it's looking like pretty stable running across the night. We did see some fantastic racing in the flat fours in race 2. I'm wondering if things are going to get a little bit more unhinged for the flat sixes in their second race.
Maybe. I mean, the drafting isn't as strong in these cars, and you therefore get more powerful. Oh, actually, yeah, I've just noticed that as well, looking at things. It's a full invert for race 2, so here we go. This will be interesting. Does put our pole sitter technically on the second row of the grid. But with the drafting is not quite as strong in these cars, and the fact that they're a little trickier to drive does mean that we'll probably see the field space out some more. But look, can't say never when it comes to a supports race, especially now that we've got the field flipped around here. Have to say, someone like Simon Mazomo is starting effectively P3 for this one here. That's a a good second chance for him if he can get a clean launch. Cameron Dance, well, he'll have no one behind him that could cause trouble per se. Hopefully he'll get a better start as well in that number one. So it'll be Anthony Green leading everyone away ahead of Mark Noble, Simon Mazzomo, Robbie Bradbury effectively on the second row of our drivers. And it'll be Peter Pavlovich, Garen Batten on our third row, with Brett O'Keefe, Cameron Dance on the fourth, and Matthew Deere on his lonesome there in effectively what is row number 5 of this field. Opening 2 spots on the grid will be technically reserved for race control and the safety car, but they're ordered the same way that it would be if we were in positions 1, 2, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's good. At the very least, it means that things will be, that no one will get, say, an unfair advantage, you could say. Here we go then. Final few seconds, the revs rise, and Anthony Green and Mark Noble lead a KRF 1-2 off the grid, but they have both completely missed the start there. Simon Mazzomo straight to the lead as they get onto racing action, and he is going to potentially jet away here with everyone who finished up top in race 1 absolutely clammed up behind the 2 KRF cars. Garen Batten is going to be the first to stick his nose out and try and go for the move. Cameron Dance trying to fight his way past Brett O'Keefe and Robbie Bradbury. Meanwhile, Matthew Deere has already made up one position, putting Peter Pavlovich to the back of the field.
Watching here, Bradbury, Dance trying to pick off Bradbury, I should say, but there you go. Mark Noble's now in front of him. That's going to be a bit of a roadblock for the number 1. Although Cam's still looking for a way around the right-hand side of the road. He's going to get run off pretty much. Noble contact with the 63 as Noble blocked it up under brakes as well. Noble's parked up at turn 5. Hasn't got going yet. As well, they've had Batten through to second. Bradbury and Deere have gotten through on Anthony Green, and Deere already up to third in the aftermath of all of that one. He snuck up the inside somewhere. Something fierce is dancing. Now get together as the number 1 tried to find his way inside towards turn 8 here.
Dance might have a little bit of red mist going on here.
You hope not, but it does look like it is. Green's run him off the road pretty much, it seems, through the carousel. He was right at the limit. That wasn't, and then just almost got lent on him, it seems, and got him behind them. That's Peter Pavlovich, who again wants to be up and racing Cam for what would be second in his title at the end of it all. Unfortunately, that's not going to pay to that a bit in terms of extending the margin in Cam's favour. There.
Bradbury.
Yeah, Bradbury way off here at Canada Corner in the gravel. And has found the tyre as well.
Actually, he avoided the tyre bundles. That contact was earlier on in the lap. So this was what happened between Cam Dance and Mark Noble. Noble had locked up. He was just going to go straight on. And unfortunately, there was nothing Dance could do about that. So that has put things on the back foot for now for Cam. But Mazzomo with a very comfortable lead over Garen Batten. 2.7 seconds at the start of lap 2. And Matthew Deere has elevated himself into 3rd spot. Fantastic job there from our race 1 winner. Question is, will he have a response to Mazzomo when things get down to the pit stop cycle?
I think Mez might, well, being in behind the KRF cars, but critically able to get the launch just about right and get through ahead of them before turn 1. It should be his race to lose, I would think, from here. Now, unless Deere's pace is substantially quicker than Mazzomo's. You see the reaction times here on the graph, and this time it was Mazzomo, the driver, able to launch inside of half a second to the green, apparently. These numbers might be a bit of an estimate based on when they started rolling, but I suppose that realistically is a capture of it. The system knows when it went green, and it can then look at, well, when the first recorded movement of speed above 0 happened. So I consider, and given it's actually reckons it can count up to 3 decimal places, I'd say that's actually quite accurate. Now all things considered. So yeah, fastest car off the grid by half a tenth. Very careful, the second fastest there in 22.
Indeed. The battle is on between Garen Batten and Matthew Deere now. And into Canada corner. Batten running a little bit wide, but the curb is there to save him. Deere generally with the better exits here. He's got the traction down very nicely in car 116. No move at the final corner. It's almost always best to wait for the run into turn 1 here. They're pretty much equal on the exit, but Deere will have the slipstream. Well, it's not as strong as we've seen in other cars. Into the pits comes Brett O'Keefe. Meanwhile, he's decided to take the call nice and early, maybe reverse engineer this race a little bit. Batten defensive versus Deere for second spot. Mazomo takes the fastest lap of the race, but Matthew Deere not far behind. In fact, Deere ran a faster lap than Mazomo, but he got an off track on it, so it didn't really count.
Yep, and just got a little too close to Batten in towards turn 3. Got the car all crossed up under brakes and has lost 8 tenths to, well, it would have been about half a second or so to Batten as a result. So that's going to put paid to any progress on this lap, you'd think, to Mazomo. As they head down to turn 5 and pushing the limits, but no, they're all good there as they work their way in.
So a little bit of a bump in the road for Matthew Deere in his pursuit of second place, as out of the pits comes O'Keefe, and it's a 15 second stop, 47-second lane transit time. Compare that to Bradbury, 14.7. Righto. So Bradbury a little bit better than O'Keefe, but potentially not doing too much from in terms of any advantage, because they did have the exact same lane transit time. Here comes Deere one more time on Garen Batten, and well, they are pushing hard through the kink, and the slipstream will come into effect here down this back stretch, but it's hard to make the move and decide where you're going to go in Canada corner. Deere goes for the inside on the entry. Garen Batten lets him go. Deere, though, doesn't quite gather it up on the exit, and Batten tries to move to the inside of the next corner, but Deere's right there to defend it. He goes a bit wide again, coming through the penultimate turn, and Batten could potentially do the over-under on the exit of the final corner here. But Deere manages to keep it together. Nicely done.
There's certainly some good racing there between the two of them. Batten right up in behind Deere. I reckon he's going to look for it, but Deere covers off the inside down towards turn 1. Batten now has the outside overlap. Will be crossover perhaps here for turn 3. He's going to look for it. Yep. Gets the switch over. He's able to sell the dummy there to Matthew Deere, and is now alongside to claim the inside space. Good crossover there from Garen Batten. Can he park it up now into turn 3 to protect the runner? And yep, he'll now cover off the inside towards turn 5. Deere's already on the gearbox of that NRG Esports entry, so there's not exactly a run-up against the slipstream. And yep, number 3 will park it on the left-hand side here, Reese, but already still overspeed coming forward. It's going to have the out-braking move, though. Turn 5. Oh, that's risky.
Yeah, for a second there, I thought they were going to clatter each other off the road. That was an aggressive turn in there from Matthew Deere, but Batten pulled out right at the final moment. Fantastic bit of racing between these two, and it is certainly not over. I think they're going to be fighting right to the end here, as long as Batten can stay in touch.
I hope he can, although with the way Deere kind of shut that one down at turn 5, I kind of feel like that might have been sort of the warning shot across the bow kind of situation there. It's, yeah, look, I'm here to take that spot away from you, and there's nothing more you can do about that kind of a thing. So I kind of hope I'm proven wrong, as I'm being told, and we can see it here on screen as well. Thanks to that scrapping and fighting for Deere and Batten, Dance picked up 1.3, nearly 1.4 seconds on Garen in particular. He tried to fend off Deere. So that was very handy for Cam to have them going like that. So to keep that one up.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a chance here for Cameron Dance to get onto the podium if things go his way. End of the 4th lap then. And Simon Mazzomo, still the fastest car out there, 209.7. And, well, actually, Cameron Dance running a 10th faster, 209.617 for the reigning champion of the Flat Sixes. So the advance continues, and Matthew Deere and Garen Batten will have to start focusing a bit less on each other and more on the purple and yellow car approaching them steadily in the distance.
Yeah, maybe, but Batten's had a nice run off of turn 3 there. He won't be close enough, I think, to have a crack at it here in turn 5. Unless he goes for the hero line. She'll show the nose and threaten at the least. But, yeah, can't get there on Matthew Deere, but it does look like compromised Deere ever so slightly through the corner. So, well, this is what I have to say. I'm looking forward to this, because now, yeah, Batten's close enough to keep the attack up here as they hopefully close enough through this middle sector as they cross through turn 7 there. Head on down towards the hurry downs in turn 8. And if they keep that up, yep, Cam Dance will be singing their praises. As he pulls another second out of Matthew Deere, to 2:10.7. Dance, the fastest car in the top 7, if not the entire field. Yep, entire fastest lap of the field last time round for Dance. Quite the fastest of the race. In fact, it would have been the fastest, but it was a bit more to the council last time.
Well, it's easy to be a bit naughty at Road America. Obviously, the track in the real world has tarmac runoffs at a few of its corners now, but despite the art update in recent years, this still is a relatively old scan of the track from before those tarmac runoffs were implemented. Though I have to say, it still holds up beautifully. It still looks lovely. Let's see how much Dance has either gained or lost on this lap. None of them going for the lane, and I'd say, you know, if you haven't pitted by the time you get to say lap 4, lap 5, you are committing to a pit stop right at the very end. So Garen Batten's last lap, 2:10.2, 2:09.8 for Dance. It was also a 2:09.8 for Matthew Deere though. So Dance is gaining a little bit on third, but second, a little bit more out of reach.
That looks more about like business as usual for these guys here. Unfortunately, I think that might just spell the end of this potential, or this, what we hope to be an ongoing fight for second. But certainly could be a brewing fight for third as we look back at Cam Dance from the boot lid of Garen Batten's. Actually, this is number 3. Or turn 5 we go. So currently at about 1.6 seconds. To come down a little closer to it well there. Up into turn 6 already, down to about 1.5, and there we go, crossing over to 1.4.
It seems like Dance is very strong in this middle section of the circuit, the place where mechanical grip is king, and you are well in tune with the front end on entry and the rear end on exit. It's always nice to have a beautifully rotating car at Road America. You get the setup just right. It is a wonder of a circuit to drive, but I can tell you from personal experience, if you don't get your setup right, then it is a very difficult circuit indeed, as that was a bit of an off-track excursion for Garen Batten, and that might bring the time down just a little bit more, but you tend to actually maintain your pace if you run wide out of the kink.
How much grass you catch with the left side tyres, and how much it scrubs speed versus speed you carry in versus playing it conservative and making sure you don't touch the grass. Yeah, all important factors as most of our cars up here at this front of the part of the field for now. We'll dive in into lap 6 to take his compulsory stop as we check back in for Simon Mazzomo, our race leader, out in front by 6 seconds, and we'll sit here right over his shoulder for a lap of Road America in the Porsche 992 Cup car.
out of the final corner he comes. Very nice to hear the flat six symphony of your typical Porsche motor across the line for Mazomo, and he's been holding that lead very nicely indeed. Garen Batten, meanwhile, while we were on board with Mazomo, has taken his pit stop and has come out just ahead of Wet O'Keefe. Now, this is going to be an interesting one indeed. These two looking for a bit of a match-up, considering their differing strategies here. O'Keefe has got his tyres well up to temperature at the moment, having pitted very early on, going on 5 laps ago. Batten only just coming out of the pits on this lap, so whichever 2 tyres he has changed, they won't be giving him the maximum grip they can, Dan. So looking forward to seeing how this battle turns out and who is really the quickest of the 2 of these guys when it all comes down to it.
I mean, yeah, and it also means that we might have ourselves not an indication that we'll be just ahead of these 2. Dance might be right around these 2 as well, as O'Keefe's got the slipstream down to turn 1, the Batten defending on the inside. Can O'Keefe do to Batten what he did to Deere? Tries. It doesn't get up inside in time, allows Batten to get across and cover on the run to turn 3 and just make his car awkwardly positioned enough to prevent the pass into turn 3 here, but still got the toe, and now a chance to get the run down towards turn 5. So does Batten defend this one again, like we saw him was fighting with Matthew Deere earlier on? We'll have to wait and see. Inside's open. O'Keefe on the brakes early. Will get back in line.
Yeah, not much of a chance for O'Keefe to get by there. Discretion is the better part of valor, and that's no more true than in the braking zone for turn 5 at Road America. It's going to be 5 laps to go when they make their way to the line next. So time's running out for them to stick their nose in and make their moves. But I would say that if you're in O'Keefe's position, just bide your time here. Stay in touch, obviously, but don't be going for kamikaze moves or trying to show the nose at every single corner, because you'll just end up costing yourself time further down the road. If you're going to make a move, make it late and make it stick.
Yeah, without a doubt, timing here is definitely key. Although it looks like Batten has seen off the challenge here on lap 8 at the very least. Although O'Keefe can come back at him, or if this is a sign of how his tyres warm up for Batten, he's got this confidence in his car to be able to now pull away. He's nearly got a second, which should be almost clear of slipstream. Yep. Oh, doesn't quite break second for me. They'll run off the final turn, or the whisper of a draft as well. So could be a combination there. And, the 22, he won't go away just yet.
That he will not. Still just in the draft range. But it seems like Garen has gotten on a good rhythm here. Remember that him and Matthew Deere were fighting incredibly hard earlier on. And so I think Garen is just relishing the opportunity to lap with no one in front of him, and someone, a fair distance behind him for a bit can allow him to focus on his marks and get comfortable once more. This is the closest battle on track right now. Simon Mazomo's lead has stayed a bit stable at over 6 seconds. It's up to 6.7 now, just about. A bit over 6.6 really. And we still have yet to see a pit stop from the entirety of our top 5. Anthony Green has waited a while to take his pit stop. His teammate Mark Noble came into the pits on the last lap. Meanwhile, looks like the strategies are being split for Pacific Esports Racing as well. Peter Pavlovich holding on to 4th, with Bradbury in 8th, having taken his pit stop 6.5 laps ago. And there is the big call from Cameron Dance. Now, it's going to be potentially an overcut situation here over Garen Batten, but remember, Dance wasn't quite close enough to Batten for it to really potentially make a big opportunity. Let's see then as Pavlovich follows him into the lane. Batten and O'Keefe are just coming out of Canada corner now.
They are. The gap is actually closed up on this lap, so where will one Cameron Dance? Pavlich's coming to the lane as well. Dance is still up on the jacks as these two round the final corner. Dance away. A couple of bits in the lane, so he's going to be on the limiter till now, but he's clear. Overcut has worked for Cam Dance, already up at turn 1 as these two are passing by pit exit.
And there we go. Cameron Dance has gotten the overcut. It's worked out very nicely for him. That's actually a very quick stop there for Dance. 13.5 seconds. Compare that to 15 seconds for Garen Batten and Brett O'Keefe, as well as Peter Pavlovich as well. I get the feeling that Dance must have changed the left side tyres potentially, as considering Robert Henry's words about the flat fours earlier on, that is the quickest way to get tyres changed here at Road America.
It implies it's the tyre changing is NASCAR style, that like the tyre gun operators run around the car, start on the outside, and then run back to the pit wall side to throw on fresh tyres there. I mean, as it stands as well here at Road America, you kind of want to change your left side tyres. Turns 1, 3, the carousel, the kink, Canada corner, and the final corner. Trying to think, what orientation does that make Road America, clockwise or anti-clockwise?
It's
the majority lefts. Sorry,
it's
right-hand turns.
It's clockwise, yeah.
Majority rights equals clockwise. I should have thought about that for a second. But yeah, as it turns out, actually it makes sense. Speaking of other drivers taking the pits, your top two are in. Zomo and Deer. Bring it on in now. We'll see the 954 up on the jacks for a couple of seconds before Deer hits his pit box a little further than the others. So it will be a comfortable advantage for Mazomo still in this one. In fact, he's already rolling and away. Although Deer only a couple of seconds behind. As out comes Anthony Green, actually going to stay out on his tyres and take the lead for some of most of the lap.
This is going to be close between Deer and Dance. Look at that, Cam with the momentum and Deer still with his tyres coming up to temperature. There could be some potential for very big gains here on this lap.
Yes, I'll be curious to watch how comfortable, how confident is Matthew Deer on cold tyres. And how much does Cam Dance have fire in the eyes is certainly the other thing to think about here. Let's watch now here on the brakes at turn 5, for example. It's only one lap on the tyres for Dance, but that looks like a fair bit more confidence to trust in the tyres that presumably his left sides. It's again, and look at that there through turn 6. So much more grip for Dance. Yeah. I thought Deer was pretty happy in second, but looks like going just that one lap longer has been kind of costly. Dance now right up in position for slipstream, potentially down to Canada corner. Let's see here how we go through the carousel on this occasion. Both drivers going to swing it out, grab that late apex, Reese, and line up for a straight shot towards the kink.
Yeah, looking nice. And this is going to be the big tell, isn't it? Cold tyres through the kink for Matthew Deer. Both of them catch the grass, and it seems like Cam didn't gain as much on Matthew as I otherwise expected. And all the brakes for Canada corner. Deer just turning in a bit early there. Could compromise his line through. Dance, though, compromises his line on the way out by catching the gravel. So now the pressure is starting to get to both of these drivers as we flick a little bit further up here, and no surprise to see that Anthony Green is making his way into the pit lane at the last available opportunity. We'll see where that puts him, but we'll keep our eye on the battle for second as Deer and Dance chase each other across the start-finish line for the second last time in this race, or the third last time, more like. We also need to keep an eye on Garen Batten as well. He's still running some pretty good lap times. He was 7/10 of a second faster than Dance last time around. Dia now is starting to face up the pressure just ahead. Made a little mistake on the way into turn 3.
Gap to 3/10 on exit. Dance would have to put a lunge on him still on the brakes here. But coming up to speed. Finds another 10th in the slipstream. That's still going to have to be a lunge. He'll look. Dance cover, sorry, Deer covers super late there on the way into turn 5, and it just get Cam in a good position where he's not got the line comfortable through the corner. And he's going to need to just, again, not overdrive it now that he's up behind him still. Although, of course, every corner that we get through here, heat into Deer's tyres, stabilise the situation for the 116, and be able to mount a more solid defence. I guess I understand the rush for Cam, but at the same time, if he overdrives the car, that just ends his opportunity at making a chance of fighting through the carousel. Advantage Deer, it seems, on that moment. Although, again, Dance stronger one out. How do they go through here? Both drivers, again, pushing the limit. Getting that hint of grass. Still 4/10 to come.
So is there going to be potential for a move here? Very deep on the brakes for Cam, and he just pulls it up for the apex. Manages to keep it out of the gravel on the exit too. Although it does catch a tiny little bit there. Just due to the shape of the curb. That's a bit too much curb through the second last corner, though. If anything, it helped his rotation a little bit. He is really rounding up to the back of Matthew Deer now as they cross the line to start the final lap of the race and the final lap of flat sixes for 2023. The slipstream is with Cam, but Deer goes defensive into turn 1. There goes Simon Mazzomo on his lonesome at the front of this field. Will Dance have enough here to get the over-under done on Deer? He tries it, and it looks like he might just grab it here. Deer gives him just enough space. Still, he was able to move across, and he is putting on the mother of all defensive drives to protect second place here coming out of turn 3. Dance picks up the power just a little bit better. This could be a move into turn 5, but Deer can very easily go defensive there too.
He can indeed. He's already committed to the middle of the road at the very least. Cam, though, is getting a nose ahead thanks to the overspeed from the toe and the side draft, but outside at 5, he should be able to cover this one off, and he'll go in very deep. Cam tries to cut him, get underneath him under brakes, but the car just gets stuck out wide. Can't get it crossed over there. He'll threaten there for a second into turn 6 with a bit of a flick, and the door's half open. Can't get it up the inside of Deer through turn 7 here. That would be just a little bit crazy. Tries to get the run here. Snap and oversteer on the exit there. Tries to find the inside. No space there either. There's a car with giving the outside, but again, surely not the place to be trying to do that one there. This is a fight to watch. It's dragging Garen Batten into this one as well. If these guys keep it up, there's an outside chance of Batten having a run to the line. Through the carousel, they'll come, Reese. 2/10 in it, not even Dance. Finding the straightest line he can. He's got Deer slightly off the optimal entry, but they will open up the kink as much as they can here. Last time through, is the option coming at Canada corner, or is it coming at the final turn and the run to the front start-finish line?
Yeah, that is the question. Matthew Deer potentially going preemptively defensive. Oh, he's moving under brakes. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. Cameron Dance almost wise to it. And it looks like that's going to be the block that Matthew Deer needs. Up the front, Simon Mazzomo is going to come out of the final corner, and there's no chance for Cam Dance to get through on Matthew Deer on entry, but Mazzomo crossing the line, and he is the V8SCOPS Flat Sixes champion for 2023. Matthew Deer is blocking Cam Dance hard on the run up to the line. I saw some weaving in a straight line, and I don't know if Dance is going to have a talk to race control about that, because it looked a bit egregious to me.
Yeah, from the angle we saw, I wasn't particularly enthused by the movement under the brakes from Deer back at Canada. That was probably the worst of it, I would argue. But yeah, we didn't look at Mez for much of this race. He got the start that he needed. He got clear of everyone else, and then the fighting began back behind him, and he checked out. And indeed, Mez put that finger up. It's been a long year of racing. In fact, well, despite a long year of racing with 12 rounds of action that came across it from the season opener for V8SCOPS at Montreal through here to for Road America. Has been a season well deserving. Here's what they look like on board. Down to the Canada corner from Cam Dance. It was from a fairways back, so there's time for Deere to make the defence here, Reece, but yeah, you watch this, he goes over. Yeah, I don't like that at all. There's turning in for the corner and then there's moving across deliberately under brakes to prevent Cam. Whilst he's a long way back, probably would have been a Hail Mary and then some to get overlap to earn the apex of the corner there.
Keep an eye out of the final corner too.
Yeah, let's have a look at this one. So, moves over.
Borderline at the very least, but yeah, definitely moving under brakes coming into Canada corner. So who knows if the result will be upheld in the end by race control, but still very entertaining race. And congratulations to Simon Mazzomo, our Flat Sixes champion for 2023, and he should be very happy with that after some tough times over the course of this season and the past couple of years as well, and other championships. He certainly is able to add another trophy to his roster to complete from to join the AOG Porsche Cup Pro-Am title from 2020. Wow. Fantastic stuff. These are your race results then. Mazzomo, Deere and Dancer, your podium. Garin Batten finishes in 4th, with O'Keefe completing the top 5. Pavlovich and Bradbury within 33 seconds of the leader. A minute and a half behind Anthony Green and Mark Noble for KRF. And that is your field at the conclusion of the V8SCOPS Supports Flat Sixes season. Well, things will begin to unravel a little bit in terms of my brain, but before that we should have a chat to our winner Simon Mazzomo from race 2 and the champion of the Flat Sixes. Keep in mind we of course going further on in this event tomorrow night. Congratulations, Simon. You should be very happy with your performance this season. How was tonight for you?
Well, let's not talk about race 1. That was
okay.
very embarrassing. I'm not sure what happened there, but yeah, no, I was just lucky that for whatever reason the servers had an invert. Yeah, once I got the start and bolted off into the distance, yeah, it was just manage the gap to the cars behind, get the pit stop done, and yeah, that was pretty much was it.
It seems like over the last couple of years you've had a massive increase in pace. I mean, you were always looking quick, but it seems that you've just unlocked something else in 2023, and especially since joining 95 Sim Sports. What do you think has been the key to that?
I think it's probably more just a lot more seat time than probably what I've done in the past, although I've been a bit slack recently. But even then, like, the guys at 95 have been awesome. They're always there to help. They're always, you know, sort of contributing, trying to sort of give me a bit of a confidence boost every time it goes bad. You know, Sean's always there to sort of be like, yep, yeah, wet shit, but oh well, that's what it is. So you sort of pick yourself up and go again. But yeah, so no, it's just been a strong group of guys to be around, and yeah, just sort of helps me be motivated to turn more laps and to show up and do these things. So I think I probably found a little bit in myself, just in different sort of areas. I think, if I was to be honest, probably confidence has probably been the big change. Is that recent times I've been a lot more confident to push the car more, push myself a bit more, actually have confidence to battle with the guys up front. So it's been a lot of different things, but yeah, it's probably feels like I'm probably at my peak now. I don't think there's really much more after this.
Well, here's hoping that peak is going to plateau for a while longer, Simon. Will we expect you to be taking part in Flat Sixes next year if it continues?
At this point, no. I probably won't be back for next season. The GTPs have taken a massive interest in me, and I've sort of just been... I knew I had a few more races to go with Porsche, so I just kept doing the necessary enough laps to sort of keep my head into it. But now that this is over, we've got Southern Cross, which is in the TCR, and then yeah, there's a lot more stuff I want to do in GTP. So the old faithful Porsche, I think she might get retired at the end of this season. So yeah, won't be back to fly the number 1.
Well, the floor is yours, Simon Mazzomo, Flat Sixes champion in 2023. You have anyone to thank for your performance? Now is the time.
Well, big thanks to obviously Owassar and Henry for putting on the series. Obviously, again, it's a big championship. It's a lot to do. So big thanks to them for putting on. Big thanks to you guys for broadcasting it every week. It's always fun to go watch and listen to you guys throw me under the bus. But we know Scott that does that anyway, so it's not any different. But the team, 9-5, Sean, the boss man, for all his help. Big shout out to our sponsors. Them up, Racecraft, Turn In Race Apparel, RSW Graphics, Racing Gears, Prestige Photography, and a bit of a shout out to Cam and Tay. They've been sort of my wingman for this series. Obviously, none of the other 9-5 guys are doing it, but yeah, we're in separate teams now. But it's still cool every now and then jumping comms with Cam and Taylor and. Yeah, just talk nonsense for these races, and yeah, we've sort of been working together a little bit, and yeah, it's just been awesome to battle Cam the whole way home in this championship. So I can finally say I got one over him.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure to watch everybody going at it over the course of the season. Thanks very much, Simon. Hopefully, we get a chance to chat to you again soon.
Anyways, thanks, guys.
Simon Mazzomo there, and a reminder, of course, we have Night 2 still to come. Grand Tour 2-litre Tourers and V8s at 6:40 tomorrow evening. It's going to be a fun one, Dan, but we have had a chance to catch up to Cameron Dance now, who finishing second and third could definitely be in the running for high position in the round.
Yeah, that should give Cam P2 for the round. If I'm looking at things correctly, that checks out, and that means a comfortable defensive second as he was coming into tonight. Cam, unfortunately, no dramas for Mez, so no chance to defend the number one on the car tonight. But you come away also as the Flat Force champ from earlier on this evening, so I go on all first and second and two of the support categories this year, so not a bad effort.
Yeah, not a bad effort at all, to be honest. I mean, would have liked to have won the Flat Sixes as well, but well, that's what it is. You can't help when stupid goes stupid. But yeah, look, overall, not a bad year, to be honest. I can't complain, especially with the fact that it's been some pretty good racing as well. So yeah, all in all, pretty good year.
Well, yeah, as you said, it was some tough fighting there out on track towards the end. From what we were seeing there, trying to get past Matthew Deere at the end, he put up everything he could, and I guess the question is, from us, we thought maybe a bit more than what was considered allowed in terms of defending there down to the can of the corner in particular. Any thoughts on how that felt from behind the wheel? Different to that?
I mean, it's just frustrating, to be honest. Like, you go and make a, I guess, sensible move to try and show what you're going to do, and then you just get blocked with the fact you've got someone moving under brakes, making an illegal move, and you just can't pass them because of that. Otherwise, you just end up in a heap in the wall sort of thing. So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, to be honest, and not really how I like to be raced. The adage of pretty much race how you want to be raced comes down to the whole way you want to be raced at the end of the day. So if you want to put someone in the wall, they'll do it to you, and if you're going to be better over it, that's your own fault. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. You can't deal with it, and you just got to try and do what you can.
Well, with the season, the year now done for you, given these have been the two support categories that have taken up your time on a Friday and or a Saturday evening, what's any thoughts on what 2024 might bring for you in terms of still being part of SCOPS and the supports community, or is that up in the air in any way, shape or form at this stage?
I'll have a look at see what support categories come out next year. I mean, I imagine Flat Sixes and possibly Flat Fours are going to stick around or something like that. But yeah, if the memories are true, I might come and jump in another one. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Might want to try and get my weekends back, but we'll see. Obviously, there's going to be probably a bit in the pipeline, and obviously want to try and do some other stuff as well. But yeah, I'll try and come back if I can, and hopefully have a bit of fun in the process.
Well, we'll see how things go indeed. Plenty of things to be worked out for 2024, and yeah, hopefully all the best there. Just before I hand off you, Cam, who do you want to thank for your results tonight to round out the championships in Flat Fours and the runner-up in Flat Sixes?
Yeah, just obviously shout out to the entire Orbit Motorsport team. Obviously Taylor for doing all the hard yards along the year as well when he can do it instead of being tired all day from working. But yeah, and obviously all our sponsors as well on the car: Hybrid Tune, Demon Tweaks, Fight CRC, Sim 3D, SimRacing Bible, and then obviously the rest of the field as well that raced properly, and Miz as well for doing an awesome job. So yeah, thanks to all of them. Obviously thanks to you boys and OSR for putting on another awesome year as well.
Well, there we have it. Cam Dance, second for the round. By my numbers, Reese, second in the Flat Sixes Championship, but perhaps more important to him, champion in the Flat Fours to wrap things up here tonight. And that will have to do us here for our opening night of 3 for V8SCOPS across the weekend here at Road America. Unfortunately, I'm going to dip on you tomorrow night, and Jay, so apologies for that. But I will be back, hopefully full strength there, to bring it home to wrap the night and the year up on Sunday.
Absolutely. Big thanks everyone for tuning in over the course of this night of racing. Reminder, 6:40 Australian Eastern Daylight Time in the evening is when we are going live for night 2. It's the Grand Tour. It is the 2-litre Tourers and the V8s racing tomorrow night, and then of course V8SCOPS proper on Sunday evening. Thanks very much everybody for joining us. Big thanks once again to OKMS and Wilson's Industrial Sales for supporting the series, and big thanks to Oceanic Sim Racing for organising the whole shebang in the first place. I'm Reese Gardner, Daniel Yeaman alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy pressing all the buttons behind the scenes here on SimSpeed TV. We will see you tomorrow.